And we are live here on Plus One EXP, a weird little brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare alchemy in the Bardic College of Content Creation. My name is Tony Vicinda. I'm Chief Alchemist here at Plus One EXP. And we love helping amazing designers find great players who love their games and amazing players find great designers whose games they can love. We do that in a lot of different ways. But not as much lately. Mostly we've just been publishing really cool games lately. However, we are trying to get back in the saddle by doing it in the most fun way we know, which is sitting down with those designers to play those games. And that is exactly what we are doing today with some good friends of ours. When Elliot reached out via email, I almost just said, "You emailed me, how dare you," when you could have sent me a Discord message. And I went over and immediately Discorded and said, "I'm happy to play your game, but how dare you?" And reached out to play A Land Once Magic. I was super excited because Viditya is one of our favorite designers. We're going to let them introduce themselves in just a second. But I'm really excited to get a chance to play this game. I picked up a copy at FlameCon last year that was hand sewn the day before. And really am excited to actually get a chance to sit down and play it today. Before we meet everybody else, Viditya, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and tell us a little bit about A Land Once Magic.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. My name is Viditya Voleti. I use he, him pronouns. I am an award-winning game designer, interactive artist, and games educator here in New York City. That's what I do. A Land Once Magic is a game that I made. That's so much fun. A Land Once Magic is a conversational world-building game about like creating a world that's what I'm calling post-fantasy, which is a fancy word for just like it's kind of fantasy but it's pulling away from a lot of those tropes and a lot of like the core imagery that we have of it. So we'll make something that feels like a fantasy world, but we'll talk about magic and talk about travel and talk about cultures and history, but ultimately will be deeply unique and something that's ready to jump right into.
Awesome. I'm messing around with my audio because it was weird before and I'm trying to make it less weird. But I'm super excited to play. Oh, look, a lot of people just showed up. Hey, everybody. We are playing A Land Once Magic, and now we're going to meet the people who aren't Viditya or I. Let's go to Rue first. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do, and if you want to be found online, where they can find you.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. I'm Rue. My pronouns are she, her. I do game design, writing commissions, and a little bit of editing. And I also do a little bit of stream production, although it's been quite some time since I've done that. Yeah, and I guess recently I put out a game through One Shot Podcast's book club on their Patreon. Super excited about that. It's I can do a really quick spiel on it. It's a 2-player parallel world spy game that I'm very excited about. It originally was like a couple of tweets in response to like a TTRPG version of Inktober, and got to kind of expand on it, and I'm very excited with what came out. So if y'all want to go check that out, go to One Shot Podcast's Patreon, and their book club tier is where you can find it.
It's been a really cool process. I got to talk to Tracy about the whole thing a little while ago, and I love what they're doing with that whole thing. So if people haven't checked it out yet, please go do.
Yeah,
also, Rue,
very cool.
Rue's the editor for A Land Once Magic. Also,
yes,
I don't know if you said that out loud. So
that's true. I totally forgot. I was just like, everybody knows that already. So that's
yeah. I also was like, maybe we should say that out loud.
Yeah, I am the editor for A Land Once Magic, so I'm very excited to get in here and edit this designer down.
I tell Rue, I was like, Rue, listen, you're gonna cut me down, like really just get into me.
Yeah, and if you can find me, I am Cherry Drop most places, or Cherry Drop Rue if you can't find me as just Cherry Drop.
Awesome. And then last but not least, let's meet our final player. Sarah, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, where they can find you online?
Great. Hi, I'm Sarah Franco. I'm a cult leader here at Plus One EXP and also your real life stepdad. You can find me at all of the places on the internet at Sarah Franco. And yeah, I'm really excited to play this. I love world building games, and I like all of the ingredients here are things that I absolutely adore. So I'm really excited to jump in.
You can also now email Sarah at stepdad@staff.plus1exp.com, I believe.
If you need some advice or some emotional awkward distance, just let me know. I'll be listening to Creed in the garage.
Yeah. If you want to tell somebody about your OC who may not remember that you talked to them later, that Sarah's the one to go to for that.
Yeah. I got you, champ.
Awesome. Also very excited to see all the roommates have arrived in the chat also too. And Luna, Novacento, everyone who's watching over on YouTube and on that place, Twitch. Thanks for being here. It's been so long since we've done this. I'm so excited to be doing it with this crew. We always use a couple different safety tools here on the channel, but Land Magic actually does a really good job of addressing themes and sensitivities in play through the play of the game. So we talked about it a little bit beforehand. I'm going to hand things over to Viditya to kind of just guide us through the process in totality. But if for anybody who wants to check out the game, who is not following the backer kit, the link right below my face, ttrpg.link /ALOMGAME. You should take you straight there. And if it doesn't right now, make sure it does shortly. And so it's also linked down in the description of the video. But Viditya, why don't you take us to a Land Once Magic?
Oh yes, of course. So for the gamers in the call, if you pull up the PDF, we can kind of start right at the beginning. And this will also kind of count towards a lot of our calibration stuff. Since we're going to start broad and then we can get into some more nitty-gritty stuff and we can, pull in safety tools as needed. The first thing that I like to do, the first thing that we do in the game is we set up a palette together. So before we even think about what our world will look like, before we do any of the kind of questions and any of the even specific imagery that we're going to talk about, we're just going to make a palette. And a palette is, it's going to be 4 paints. And these paints are single descriptive words. You can see I have like a bunch of them. So it's like acrid, ageless, dreamy, dynamic, eerie, jagged, kinetic, like it could be a bunch of stuff, tranquil, thorny, stormy, volatile, vivid, all these different things, right? They're just descriptive words that we like. So I always like to do it in this way where we all have a little Discord chat. I like to do that. We're going to each pick 2 words. So they could be from the list or they could be ones that you made up. It's totally fine to just pick from the list. You don't need to, you don't need to flex your creativity and think about it deeply and be like, I want to, but if you've got some ideas, you're going to pick 2, don't hit send yet. I like to do 3, 2, 1. And then we look at all the words together. I think that's a fun way for us to then see what we're all thinking, like what kind of broad palette. And then we're going to go around and each of us are going to pick 1 palette word that we really like or find 2 that are close and then maybe smash them together. And that'll kind of create our general vibe. I also got a new mechanical keyboard today, so God knows how clicky clacky that's coming.
We love the clicky clacky.
The mechanical keyboard people are swarming the chat right now just to hear the click.
I mean, it's just click, click,
me.
click,
All
click,
of them
click,
are me.
I did it immediately. Sent it to Rue. I was like, "Hey, Rue, look at this thing that I bought off the side of the road for $15." I mean, it was quite a steal.
Good.
Genuinely a steal, I think. Yeah. Okay. I'm good.
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, let's hit it in 3, 2, 1. All right. So for chat, for stream, I'll say it out loud. We have, I wrote magnetic and gold. Sarah, rigid, tempting. Tony is melodious and slick. And Rue goes gloomy and electric. I love these words. I think we picked some incredible words. So now we're gonna pick 4 of them, and that's gonna be our palette. And I guess we're jumping around a lot, which is more so than I normally do for Alien Wants Magic. But I'm gonna bring us to our Miro board, where I feel like I'll just create like a palette. And it doesn't need to be pretty, but we can each kind of pick a word, and then we'll kind of go in there. But it's like a nice conversation to have. So does anyone have a word or see 2 words that they think kind of they like immediately, that they jump out to them, goes like, I want this to be a thing? And preferably it's one that like you didn't write, right? It's like we're gonna kind of pick one from everybody.
It's strange you should ask. I'm just gonna go out there and say melodious. I fucking love that. Hell yeah.
Melodious. That's a really fun one. I like that as a palette. Feels really unique and interesting. Does anyone else have one that really is like getting them jazzed? They're like, ooh, what could a world be that's melodious and this? My thing with palette also is that these can be complementary, but they can also be contradictory. That's really fun to play with too, is how do these things like play with each other in contradiction, because the worlds are multifaceted.
Can I pose a blending and maybe we go electromagnetic?
Oh,
That's very cool.
that's very specific now too. We're talking like,
is that cool? Is that allowed in the, I don't know. I was trying to think of a word that maybe like just caught like current or like like fields or other stuff like that, but I feel like those were further out than just like, hey, and if we say,
because electric and magnetic are definitely very similar here. We could do electromagnetic. I think that again is so much more specific, but I'm like deeply into that. I think that still has like I feel like all of us can picture like, what is an electromagnetic world?
Mm-hmm.
Rue, do you have one?
I keep getting drawn into gold.
Ooh.
I think that is.
I do like just a color. I wrote that one, so of course I like it, but
You're like, I hated this one and I picked it.
it was a trap, Rue. You actually sprung from my designer's trap. Wrong choice, Rue.
there's no way to play the game wrong, except for what you just did. That's
except for what, yeah. I'm a hostile game designer, actually. Okay, and then I think I will go with do I like rigid or tempting? I really like both of these words. I feel like melodious, electromagnetic, these feel kind of looser. I'd love to. Oh, no, tempting is just really good. I think I'm gonna go tempting. I was like, it's like rigid feels interestingly contradictory, but tempting is just such a.
Tempting's got a good
great
vibe in with everything else right now.
Yeah.
I
I already
think it's also interesting for like a world to be tempting.
A
is
world
really
itself.
Intriguing. Yeah.
Yeah, a world itself is tempting. Is really fun. Okay. Next, so that was our palette words. So for chat, I can say, oh, okay, no, we have the mirror board up. That's great.
Yeah, I'm showing it to everybody. That's why I was like, go ahead and throw it together because.
Yeah.
But also, really importantly, Luna needs to know if somebody was drinking a Dr. Pepper.
No, I'm drinking a Barks root beer.
Barks is very good.
Barks is my top tier commercial root
I had a
beer.
Pepsi and it should have been a ginger ale.
Man.
Yeah, I feel that. But yeah, so our palette is melodious, electromagnetic, bold, and tempting. So let these words swim. This is the paints that we are going to build our world around. And the next thing that we're going to do kind of to calibrate all of us so we're on the same page is touchstones. Touchstones are unique to Land Magic because their whole thing is everyone's going to pick one piece of media not traditionally considered fantasy that they want to draw an aspect from. So it's a fantasy world builder. It's like a post-fantasy world builder, fantasy-esque world builder, because we're going to look directly outside of fantasy. This could be themes, setting elements, specific moments, or just vibes in general. I use the example Cowboy Bebop, like its jazz soundtrack or its mechanical tactility as things that I really like about that world that I'd want to world build around. But you can kind of go everywhere. There's like Hellboy is like kind of a fantasy-ish, but it's not really. And so you're like, oh, I really like Hellboy's like noir, dark, like comic aesthetic. And or some of my favorites have been somebody who's done a touchstone for saying Legally Blonde. It's like, what is like Legally Blonde, like kind of as like a thematic thing to build a world around. And then similarly, House MD as like House MD, I think specifically it was like House MD's character's self-loathing. It's like that was like the touchstone. It's like I wanna think about how the characters have this deep self-loathing about themselves, and I thought that was so much fun. So yeah, so this, we don't need to do it all in like the order that we did before. There's no real pageantry to this one. It's just does anyone have a touchstone that they're excited about, and or like what are you watching right now or reading right now that's just exciting you that you'd want to bring something in from? So it could be a classic, a thing that you're into right now, whatever. Touchstones.
I'm super into Severance right now because I have Apple TV. But I think it's more fun to say that I'm into the amount of weird theory crafting that people on TikTok do about Severance.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so it's like a meta theme.
It's a meta theme.
Yeah, so I'll do Severance's theory. I like the word weird, like out there theory. Theory crafting.
Especially the people who are just engagement farming and are just like, here's very obviously bad or wrong theory.
Oh, I love that.
And then let me get hyper defensive whenever people just point out, that this is obviously explained in the text.
But this is what I'm thinking. That rips. I love that. Let's make our touchstones green.
Chad, if you got some touchstones you want to throw out, this is a great time for you to have a voice also.
Rue or Sarah, do you have a touchstone in mind?
I do. I have my cute little Wally figurines on top of my computer, so that comes to mind. I like particularly like the sound design and the soundscaping, where it's all very like beeps and boops, and very few like spoken words, that it's all just sort of the natural sounds of machinery and all of that. I think that's really cool.
Wally's like mechanical. That is lovely. That's very lovely. Especially we kind of have electromagnetic, we have melodious. Like I feel like these are really nice touchstones.
These are great ideas. This is putting me into, I've been doing a lot of game demos, and the thing that's been sticking out to me is like the very specific role like the soundtracks of a lot of these demos have played. Earlier today, this was not a demo, but I was just starting up Dredge and kind of the like soundtrack of that. And then a couple days before, I played a few like kind of action oriented games, and they had kind of like upbeat, interesting kind of like generic rock soundtrack. So I think just like very specific like game soundtrack vibes.
Okay, so you want to do just game soundtracks in general. All right. I think that's great. I think that's very fun. And then dang, here comes the part where I have to do a touchstone. Let's see, what do we kind of have? Maybe I want to do kind of more of like a specific theme, because we have sounds, we have aesthetics, we have meta stuff.
I like how Viditya is like, maybe I want to do something useful for the actual play.
No, this is all very useful. I'm like roll fill when it comes to the setup of this game. Let's see, what have I been watching recently that I think would be interesting? I've been watching a lot of anime. What have I been watching? What would be an interesting kind of we can do Apothecary Diaries.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I was just like, that's the most recent thing I've watched and that I would like to see.
Apothecary Diaries, like I think being more important than you want to be is kind of no, I might do like their conspiracies. So Apothecary Diaries being an anime about like some dynasty era, like Chinese dynasty era, and about like an apothecary girl just keeps solving mysteries basically in the castle of the emperor. And that's kind of, so this is like very court drama-esque conspiracies that are being made. So I love these touchstones. I think they're going to be really interesting with these palettes. So we have Severance's weird like meta theory crafting, Wally's mechanical and electrical sound design, all the bleeps and bloops, game soundtracks in general. So presumably like how they're using it when they use it, right? That's kind of what it seems like, Rue. It's like that like moment to moment what's going on. And then Apothecary Diaries conspiracies. So the point of doing these is now we kind of are relatively on the same page, right? Like we have our palette, we have these descriptive words that we're using, we have these touchstones, so the stuff that we're kind of pulling from, like theme and ideas. So in a way, like we are all thinking of a world right now. Like aesthetically, we're thinking of something, and thematically, we're thinking of something. And I like doing this because then it's like, all right, we're kind of focusing in. And this also kind of acts like a calibration tool in the way that as we play, you can point towards the palette and be like, this is why I'm doing this. Like, I want to pull in something melodious. Or like, this is a good way to curate what we're going to put in here. Or if somebody like brings something in that's like, and this feels like it's outside of our palette, or it's not really talking about our touchstones in a way that I think is interesting. Like, you know, we can check in with each other, or you can, you know, like cheer somebody on to be like, oh, you know what, like in Apothecary Diaries, actually what you're talking about is very similar to something in Apothecary Diaries. I think it works great. And you can give a big old thumbs up. So that's why I like doing these. And we can now we can jump into the actual world building of it all. I hope you're excited.
Yes.
I very much am. I love this touchstones and palette. So the game is going to start, and this is not in the current version online. I'm doing testing it. Ooh, to play testing. Play testing on +1. It's
what? Every game's
Yeah.
supposed to be done first. We never do emergent design in the middle of stream.
There's
ever.
so much, and there was like no part of me that even questioned it. I was like, oh yeah, and I just, because I posted like without even saying anything, I posted a screenshot of like a world building table in chat because I was like, we're gonna use it. Okay, so in the PDF you can see that we're it says the first thing that we're going to do is make a legend for the world. Actually, the first thing that we're going to do is build the core idea, the shape of this magic of the world. So of course, you know, the game is called A Land Once Magic. The idea of that is that we're going to build a magic, but then that magic is currently changing in some way. Like it's disappearing, it's erupting, it's evolving. Like this land we built it off of this magic, and then something is happening to it, and that's like the core foundation of the conflicts of this world. And so that's the table that I posted in our little Discord chat. You just scroll up a smidge, and there it is. And this is now where we pull out our deck of cards to start using. If you have your own deck of cards, you're more than welcome to use them. I did not like balance this game where it all needs to come from a single deck of cards and all this stuff like that. Otherwise, I can always draw a card for you, and then I'll just tell you what you drew. The way that this table works is it's 3 separate card draws. Each person, like, and then we go in a row. So let's say we start with Tony, and then Tony would draw a card, and it would be like, it is said that magic was, and then based on the suit of the card, you kind of fill in the blank. And then we'd go to like Rue, and then with it, we could draw the card, and then me, but as the world changes, magic has become blank, right? Another kind of core rule. So, you know, these are just prompts, and then we fill in the blanks, we expand, we talk to each other, we have a fun time. In the rules, it also says that like the person who drew the card has final say on it. So we are welcome and encouraged to give suggestions and accept stuff, but whoever drew the card is the person that we go to be like, what do you think about this? I have an idea for you about that thing. Who wants to start?
I'll go first, but I'll need someone to draw a card for me.
I am always available to draw a card for you. Okay.
Nice.
Here, and I guess for the audience to keep an eye on, this is the table that we're using. Sneak peek.
Ooh.
I haven't even posted about this online yet. I've actually really been meaning to. I've just been busy. Okay, so I will draw you a card. So Sarah, it is said that magic was I drew an ace of diamonds, so it's a diamond. It is said that magic was given to us by the gods, by the elements, by the stars, etc., etc. Do you have like an idea that sounds interesting to you right away? And the point of these is that, you know, we'll keep drawing them, and then you can always come back to fill in the blanks as you learn more.
Yeah. I have an idea. It's a little bit out there. I have just started watching Severance, so I'm not like super far into it, but I kind of understand what we're doing here. And I kind of like the idea that it was given to us by like the general manager, like, you know, like there was like the executive, you know what I mean, like something like that. So
Interesting.
Oh my
not necessarily
gosh.
like a god, but maybe, we don't really know, we just call them the executive.
Wild. Okay, so not like explicitly like not God,
Right. Like
Some
maybe
go between is kind of
Yeah.
interesting.
I
Like
love
just
this.
some entity, like maybe some people or some beings think it's God. Maybe some people think it's just a guy named Brad.
People out there have some wild theories.
Exactly.
Wait,
yeah, that's
do you-
actually
Not
perfect
clear.
for that.
Do you want to call them the executive?
I
or
think
like
so.
the-
I think
That's so good.
in my mind, that's like the commonly agreed on. Like everybody knows what you mean when you say the executive.
I'm also really glad we just picked a set of things in our palette and touchstones that are going to really drive SEO on this actual play right now. That's one of the best parts about it. The executive would be proud of us.
The executive would be very proud of
It's
us.
true.
Yeah, you get to tag us #severance, hashtag ideas,
Hashtag severance theories.
hashtag
Right.
severance theories. Okay, I think Google, we're all see each other in the same loop. Can I just go and then Tony is above Sarah, or am I different?
Oh, it's going to be different for people on stream, and I think for us it should be fairly.
I mean, I can also go stream order if we want.
It should be the same order no matter what, but we may not appear the same way to each
Correct.
Okay. So we'll just go clockwise. So we'll say Sarah goes to Rue because that's what the stream sees.
Cool.
All right, Rue, do you have a draw? or do I need me to draw?
Yeah, could you draw for me?
Always drawing cards, Voleti. That's what they call
Yeah.
me. Okay, so with it, we could, so this magic was given to us by the executive. With it, we could, 8 of diamonds, build and power great civilizations and
Ooh.
societies. What are you picturing? What is this? What is the, you don't need to get super specific. We're kind of just building the shape of what this magic is and can do. How did we build and power it?
Ooh. That's like building and powering the magic, or we're using the magic to...
With the magic, we could
Okay.
build and
Gotcha.
power great civilizations and societies.
Ooh. My brain is going to that it's like a power source for kind of like our general world society, and then it like kind of is extending out, that like the way maybe we expanded is by bringing that power source to other people, but we're still kind of in control. The executive is still kind of the
And
person
doles it out.
doling it out, yeah, and quietly taking it back, but we don't talk about that part.
Okay, so it's like, so magic is like a power source that we utilize. Okay, do you want to give like an aesthetic to this power source? Like, is it electricity? Like, is it kind of like crystals? Is it plants? Like, or what does it look like? Even just a vague idea.
That's interesting. I think my brain is going towards like electricity, like that there might be like a physical thing kind of in the upper echelons of places, but like for the common people, they just kind of get it as like electricity style
Nice.
deliveries. Yeah.
Big fan. Is it gold? Like, is it gold electricity? Is that like the use kind of like, that's how we know that's the magic electricity?
Not
is
normal.
Yeah.
not like normal electricity.
In my mind, listening to you guys talk about it, I almost picture like people going to like a fountain or a well or something and like returning with like lanterns with like the gold magic in it and like going home. You know what I mean? Like getting milk or like grocery shopping, like they return with a vessel with some of the magic. Because like Viditya, you said the like, or Rue, you was like the executive doles it out. Like there's like new magic just dropped. Like go get your month supply. You know?
Oh, I love that. I do
That's
really
really
like
good.
that.
Yeah, I also like that it's something you kind of have to go and get. It isn't delivered to your home, so you have to like make that trip.
With golden electricity that must be given, charged. What's the word we want to use there? Taken.
Rue said doled out, and I loved that.
Received.
Doled. How do you spell doled? D-O-L. Yeah,
D-O-L-E-D.
Yeah, D-O-L-E-D.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doled out and received. Cool. Perfect. And then that means that Tony, now you will draw.
Or you will.
Whoa, I'll draw. Always drawing cards, Voleti.
Trust the heart of the cards.
But as the world changes, magic has begun to, and so this is where it's the, a land once of it all. But as the world changes, magic has begun to evolve once more.
Love it.
Outside of our control and understanding.
Ooh,
So in this world, magic isn't going away. It is
evolving.
Getting weird. How is this electricity that is being given to us by the executive evolving?
I love some of the vibes, and then Adam Seats also showed up in the chat a little while ago. I'm gonna pitch that it is becoming like tuned, like the frequencies, like the audible frequencies of magic are changing. Historically, it's just a little bitty little like light, crackle, and hum, right? But now
Mhm.
every dole of magic has a slightly different frequency of sound that's coming.
And then that works for a melodious palette as well.
Mhm.
It's also
Melodious.
going to have a unique frequency
Yeah.
that we just like don't understand. And is the whole thing that it's now like interacting with things that we maybe didn't know it could, or do we want to leave it like, how is this outside of our control?
Yeah, I
and
think
understanding?
it's like there's a little bit of a like theremin or chip tuning quality. Like when magic gets close to each other, I think it'll like there's some resonance that happens. There's certain
Mhm.
if you're trying to use it on different things will cause it to like the tone to shift again sometimes, like depending on what you're trying to do with it. And I think because of that, it is like it is reacting like that mix of both the resonance with other magic and then the items you're using it on, like it is starting to that's like where the weirdness comes up, right?
Yeah,
Like it's almost sparking like secondary magic that we don't quite grow.
yeah. I
That makes
love
sense,
that.
especially if it's like a power source. That means it's like making things flicker or maybe
Mhm.
just like overpowering them and now they're busted.
I like the idea of like it's almost like attracting other, like when a frequency
Mhm.
switches and it locates like a similar frequency, like it's like pulling them in
Mhm.
or something like that. Kind of leaning
Ooh.
into like that tempting,
Mhm.
like
Ooh.
electromagnetic
Ooh,
piece, right?
I even like
Mhm.
maybe there's even been rumors that sometimes there's a magic that wasn't two magics interacted.
Wait, say that again.
Yeah,
Sorry.
you broke out real
Damn
bad,
it!
Tony.
Right at the keystone. What if there's even rumors that sometimes there's resonance that causes another magic to just appear, like a magic that wasn't
Ooh.
get doled out.
Ooh,
Mhm.
yes.
We're just hearing rumors. We don't know. People
Mhm.
are talking about it online though.
I like that. I like that. Okay. Okay, cool. So we have like a shape and image of our magic, and we have a shape and image how it's changing. Um this is cool. This is good. Now we're gonna build a legend. So this is again kind of one of our like bases, our foundations for the world. And we're gonna build a foundation of our world through creating a legend, storytelling, and this legend and how it's been changed and warped are gonna really kind of allow us to build out the foundations for our world. Jailbreaking the magic, phone freaking with spells. These are great things in chat. Hell yeah. So there's another 1, 2, 3. So I will draw the first card and then we'll just kind of continue the cycle. A legend is told of. I swear I shuffled these, but I have drawn every single diamond in my deck. A legend is told of a contemplative scholar, the beaten soul, crest spirit, the unbowed. Contemplative scholar. I kind of am maybe thinking like a Nikola Tesla type guy, like kind of a weird inventor, who's just like, yeah, I'm thinking about magic like crazy. I'm thinking about this like golden electricity. Do we have a word for it? For what this is? Do they call it anything?
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Like, Rue said it, and then even Tony said it, like calling it the dole. Like, because when you go get the dole, like I love that. I think it's this idea of it, like it's something that is sectioned out and given,
okay.
and like that's what everybody calls it. You know.
I like
Mhm.
that. The dole. And then also, I'm not that great with names. Do we want to give like this contemplative scholar like a title or a name? Does anyone have a cool idea for like kind of an inventor type person? Like the
Do we want to live in like the executive type titles? Like is that a thing we want
for
to?
this person?
Yeah, I mean, like not them being that, but like, yeah. Do we want to? Do we
Yeah.
want? Is that like or do we want to keep on building a pantheon? Like,
I like the idea of building the pantheon and maybe pulling some of like apothecary diaries, like
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
from there a little bit more.
Yeah.
Ooh, interesting.
Who would be like a master of science or something like that? Like
Yeah.
head of R&D.
Like a chancellor of something.
Ooh.
Oh, the chancellor. The something chancellor, like I don't like the spark chancellor. I don't want necessarily
no,
like
I
that,
got
but you get what I mean.
Yeah.
Or something maybe to do with frequencies, like, or like kind of that maybe something melodious.
Chancellor Hertz.
I'm doing it.
Hell yeah.
Chancellor. I don't know if I spelled that. No, I did not. Chancellor Hertz. Like the company. Oh, wait, is that actually how?
There is a company, but I was thinking like because
Like
in
the-
audio there's like the Hertz frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is HERTZ
Yeah.
is the frequency also too. I could be wrong.
Yeah. The actual measurements.
Yeah. That is what it is.
Missed opportunities from chat. Captain Crunch, the doctor, the minister.
I love that. Let's see. The Canarus Deliberator. Wow. I forgot that we have a chat.
I love it.
Chancellor Hertz is a okay. I like that. All right. So Sarah, I will draw you a card.
Thank
their tales tell of. So what do their tales tell of? Clubs.
Ooh.
Different.
Foundational morality.
So what is this tale? What is the tale that Chancellor Hertz that is told across the land? And how does it kind of teach us foundational morality in our world?
Wow. I want to go because we've got we do have so many sound, themes and stuff like that. I want to go with something around people deserve the chance to be heard. You know what I mean? Active listening being something that leads to a moral life. If you are actively engaged in hearing out your fellow beings, that's where true understanding can start. Something along those lines.
Oh, I really like that.
Like receptivity.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You said it really. It's like listening. Oh man, you should have been writing it down.
You're okay. Active. I don't know. It's a vibe thing. If you listen good, you is good.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think that's really great. I love that. All right, and then we can, again, well, as we get the full picture, we can talk about the whole thing. But now, much like our magic, time has passed. Things have happened in our world, but now the legend has been warped, giving rise to Ace of Clubs. Oh, this is here. This all makes sense.
This is such a perfect pull for the touchstones and stuff we've got going also.
Industry. How has this legend been warped to give rise to industry? And perhaps
Oh.
what industry or what movement is it?
Interesting. My brain does kind of go back to like it is becoming like a corporate structure where it's like people are like, oh, so everyone is just listening to whoever is in power or like in charge.
I think there's a hierarchy. You listen to the person above you, and that person listens to the person above them.
And that's what being good is just sort of like listening and following orders is kind of the unspoken part of it.
I like it's gone from like trying to reach true understanding to just like free flow of words into your brain.
It's not listening to the other person, it's obeying the other person.
It's basically obey.
Maddie also put in like the listener. I would like to motion that it's Chancellor Hertz, the listener. I think that's sick as hell.
Yeah.
Wow, can you go back on a game like this and just change things if you want to?
That's crazy talk.
That's some crisp design.
It's actually in the back of the PDF. You have to put it to a vote, and then once the vote passes, you then have to go out to your neighborhood and get at least 27.5 signatures.
My God.
And then you have to send Viditya $30 for a refiling fee.
Correct.
That's absolutely true. I mean, that's how we're actually making money off of this game.
It's all the edits.
Okay, I love that. So there's kind of this like kind of corporate-y industrial hierarchy that has come from this, and it's and it all comes to the executive, because the executive is the one who gives things out. So I imagine like you kind of like, even if maybe people aren't thinking about the executive prior to this as like that corporate structure, it fully like fits in with the kind of work ethic, obey, do your job, listen to the person above you kind of mentality. I think that's really cool. Does anyone else have any ideas or thoughts about our legend before we move on? Tony, you're thinking. I see a little thinking.
I'm just trying to figure out if we, like, I understand we're going back to the executive for it. Would it be good to introduce a thing that this warping is like called or renamed as? Like, is this like this? Is this like a Six Sigma process? Or is this another layer of like bureaucratic governance and oversight? Right? Like, are these people who have gotten between the executive and the rest of us to add just an extra layer, right? Like,
I mean, I like having some sort of faction, right? Introduced here. Like, perhaps there is. I mean, we could. It could be like a power plant or like a power grid company is maybe the one who is like, oh, we like manage
you don't go to the source anymore. Like, we do that on your behalf. Like, it's almost like a interruption, so civilians aren't necessarily receiving their dole. They're like waiting to hear when they'll get their dole,
when they'll get it.
And manage, like you just said, we manage. Like, management, it was like the one of the things that kept on jumping out at me as a term. Feels like it needs something extra, but management, I think, is also good
management. Like,
I like that too, because like the idea that the magic was changing and reacting weird, like somebody stepped in to be like, hey, you need somebody to manage this issue, like, and that's kind of how it came, is just, again, like some broad ambiguous, management will take care of it kind of a thing.
Management is listening.
I keep thinking of like a line that their like little tagline is like, "We listen to you." Is there like creepy corporate like?
We listen to you. Is really. I'll do the.
Just so many
that's a
like
nice.
horrible connotations
I
to
know.
it too.
Did you want like an additional layer, like something management?
I don't know. I mean, I think we're living in a pretty like one word or like one word with define. I think management is like, is good.
Mhm.
Can I fuck this up? Can I take out the management?
Ooh, I like that. I
Make it
like
into
that.
like
I
an
like that
app
a lot.
name.
Yeah, like a weird company
Tech
kind of.
startup.
It's really
Yeah.
funny. The landlords for one of the buildings, one of the coffee shops, is MGMT, and it literally is for management.
MGMT. Yeah, that'll be it. Oh yeah. Should we take out the ends? That's a little cleaner. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, cool. I love this legend. So a legend is told of a contemplative scholar, Chancellor Hertz the Listener, who was maybe like very instrumental in learning about the dole and perhaps creating a lot of this infrastructure that allowed grand societies to be built. Because I like the idea that we had to carry it. There's almost like, it feels like lanterns and batteries that we like plug into things, and then those are charged by it. So perhaps Hertz is a big part of creating that. And his foundational morality, like this tale, is if you listen good, you is good. And perhaps like that's why civilization was able to grow so readily and powerful and or at least like so prosperously, is this kind of, I listen to the machines and I listen to my people. And
I love it. Went from like collaboration and like
Mhm.
actual understanding of what we're trying to accomplish to control of like the
Mhm.
message shifting, and like we just consume the words rather than like actually digest and understand.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then that's how it got warped. It got warped into a greater industry of like electric control of the dole. And perhaps even like we didn't say this out loud, but it could also be like a lineage thing. Like maybe the management is like our founder, Chancellor Hertz was, and like we like
Oh,
are of his lineage of
Can I-
his like
can I get a little weird with that?
yeah.
What if it's like the person who heard the last words? You know what I mean? So it's like a carrying of like the sound. Like I was the last one to hear like this person, and so that way it gets kind of fucky with who's at play there, and that's kind of how maybe some nefariously intended people got into the situation, was just truly like the wrong person heard the last words, you know?
Mhm.
Oh, I love that.
That's really good.
I'll do like founded by Hertz. I love the last words. Some bad guy, and we can maybe figure that out. Maybe it's like weird faceless corporate nonsense. Like, but I love that element, is so fun and interesting.
Yeah. That's such an interesting way to do like a lineage too, rather than it just being like, he was my uncle. Like
Yeah.
it's carries more weight that it's someone that has like heard him speak and
Right.
or heard them speak and is like, this is what they would have wanted.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And there's maybe something there about like currents and like whatever energy and transfer and all these little things, right?
I was watching, I can't remember the midnight, I don't know, it's the thing on Netflix. It's a bunch of spirituality thing, and I know that there's like some magic that's like based on the fact that words carry current, like magical current, and that's why you like say them. And I love the idea of like that they've really latched on to this idea that like, no, the current, the energy of that person has been passed on to me through their words. So as a delegate and like authorized authority, I'm doing this thing because I heard the most special last words.
That's really cool. I like that a lot.
That kind of reinforces like the executive, who also appears to kind of be mostly like an in-between, not necessarily like that they are the person doling these things out. So it kind of that repeats that idea.
Love that. Okay, cool. So we're gonna move on to our I guess third table of the game. It is the world. So we've built our magic, we've built a legend, we have these like kind of core ideas of this world, these like shapes and thoughts that we have. Now we're gonna zoom out. And this is a new type of table where it's just a bunch of prompt questions. And we're going to answer maybe like one or two each from this table. And this is going to be broader questions about the cultures of the world, the land itself, and then the magic that was. So, or like the magic, that what's going on since it has started evolving. A little editing thing is some of the magic stuff, I might change up the verbiage if somebody draws something. But yeah, so these are just broader questions. Once again, it's you draw the card, you get final say on the answer, but we can talk about it. You can ask for help if somebody has an idea. You go like, oh, I got an idea. Yeah. So I think Sarah, you're next, right? Because it was Tony, or is it me? Who went?
It's not me. It is because Rue did industry. I think it's Tony.
I think it is.
Oh, it is Tony. Okay. I thought
it's Tony.
It's Tony time.
Okay, so your question is the 6 of diamonds. So that is an even number, and then diamonds. So it's the land.
The land.
And then diamonds.
What is the common transportation method caravans utilize? The common transportation method that caravans use. Do we have a
small pitch if you want?
Yeah.
Truly, it's just electromagnetic. I imagine things that like hover, or like kind of like whatever we want it to be like. But I like the idea of like kind of what am I thinking of? I'm thinking of like like the Tales from the Loop kind of technology. Do you know?
Yeah, I was kind of gonna ask what's the vibe? Like that's where and I know it's the land, but like do we envision normal ass planet? Are we in a certain type of space? Like but I'm down with that. I like that. Actually, the other thing I was thinking of is like and I don't know that we have to pick one or the other. I actually kind of like the like suspensor floating electromagnetic resistance. But what if also gold railroad tracks?
I was thinking that's exactly where my head went. And it was like, I didn't like, if we want to do like caravans, it can be like a track, or even just like this world is very rich in gold. Like it's just like a common element. So it's actually just the ground itself is like propelling up, like we are pushing strong electromagnetic currents down in, which helps everything hover, like something like that.
There's a thing about like
I also love rails too, because I think that's sick as hell.
Well, yeah,
I'm a big fan of trains. Let's make a train world.
Yeah,
let's do trains.
Always go train world.
I also love things that are
rails.
Like from a futurism standpoint. I always love things that are like a little extra ridiculous and show a kind of opulence that doesn't make sense. Like when you start to get into like, hey, this thing is high, like weird high magic, but it would be really fun if it just laid down track like a little bit in front of it and then
As it
picked it up
went.
afterwards.
I fucking love that so much. Like,
Like-
that's the magnetic pull. Is it drops and lifts? Is it
As it,
just
yeah,
It's like,
like-
a it's like a
yeah,
railgun.
absolutely. Like, so
So if you
caravans
have-
are just on tracks, but those tracks just go in front of it like 10 feet while it's moving and then pick up right after it goes over them.
Tony, the way that my brain just erupted into thinking like what an old timey train robbery would look like with like that system of transportation in place. Oh my god. How cool.
Okay. I love about 3 things that we've established here. So I'm going to do like train cars. So perhaps like, these can be linked to each other. It could be big,
Yeah.
it could be
Yeah.
small. Because they are technically free roaming.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it's like train cars
love
lay
that.
golden tracks in front of them, pick them up. But I also love that perhaps this is a method of transportation that was built off of or is found its foundation in gold rich veins in the earth. Like I think I like both
Yeah.
of those being a truth. To travel.
Where we're going, we don't need rails and you just off-road.
Yeah.
We brought our own.
But I also do love like it being very trainy where it's like, yeah, you can't turn a tight 180 and like you're going fast and you're going straight. And you can do it, you can do it anywhere, but also you can't turn one.
But like
Yeah.
once you commit to a course, that is it.
That's it. Yeah. Like, you have to slow down to make big turn to like shift and do anything.
Yeah, and you have to.
Yeah.
It's like a process.
And then what was our third one? Are they still kind of electromagnetically floating off?
Oh
of
no,
the-
100%. Like that was always like, this is a thing where it's like, like I even like people barely understand. Like people who can repair this don't necessarily understand the technology. They just know how to do the thing. Like this is but these are 100% floating off of the tracks of gold that get laid down in advance. And then like the electromagnetism is sucking that, like pulling that
Picks it
track
back
back up afterwards.
Like it does like a cool, the track itself does like a cool spiral to like change which magnetic field is like present as it goes, and it just like cycles around the length of cars, however long that is.
And I put it in there, it's dual magnetism, because
Hell yeah.
I imagine we're like, instead of shoveling coal or electric, it's like we plug in a big old dual battery into that thing. Also, 2 things from chat that I want to put out is Luna goes, there's probably one guy out there who's super good at turning those.
Yeah.
And that's my favorite thing about world building is you go, it's very hard to do this, and then immediately, of course, people try to do it.
Yeah.
It's like
their name is Dominic Doretto.
I think
we got Caro in the chat also too.
Yeah. And then going, are we doing magical trains?
Yeah.
Which is so. Kara and I played many a world building game together, and I feel like I always find a way to put magical trains.
Also, let me go ahead because I don't know that we've we lost water earlier today, and my child is trying to wash clothing right now, and that's what that noise was in the background because it's trying to pull water back into the pipes. So I'm gonna have to go look real quick and make sure the washer is not broken, which is okay because I'll be able to hear people. But before I do that, fun announcement that I don't think we've done a public on yet, though it's not a secret, is exquisite biome prints will arrive at our warehouse on Thursday.
Shit.
For Zine, going out for Zine.Club this month also too. So also available for other people if you want to get a print copy of Exquisite Biome.
Hell yeah.
Let me go find out if my washer is ruined or not. But y'all keep going because I'll be able to hear everything.
Sure, yeah. That's so fucking funny. That's why I was like, that sounded like somebody who was doing a Tokyo drift. And
I know. I was Felicity and Chai. I assumed it was the sound of the magical train. And I'm like, yes.
That's exactly what it was.
We have spoken magic into this world, and it has become reality. Awesome.
All right, well, I guess it's my turn anyway.
Yeah, it's your turn. Let's go.
We'll jump into this. Ooh, I got a queen, which is a face card. Queen of Hearts, which means it is the magic that was. So Queen of Hearts is when magic was locked. So this older terminology I'm using now. I'm going to say when magic has changed.
Yeah.
What crumbled first? There's so many different ways that we can go about this. I think, my brain's like, what crumbled? Is it like the power grid? Something weird happened where like all these frequencies, like as the Dole was evolving and it's talking to other stuff, that started to kind of crumble and break. But do I want to get more specific? Like,
I'm going to pitch this idea, right? Because Rue brought up like management and stuff. Whatever it is, I love the idea that that's what kind of gave management the door to like become the middleman of the Dole. So like it's serious enough that like people were like, somebody needs to do something about this, but not so serious that everything like fell apart.
Oh, interesting. So that's what brought about it. I might even take it a step further. I think I want to do, they thought they had it controlled, but now magic is evolving and it's now causing a feedback. Like I like maybe the idea that the Dole is now talking to like workers and stuff.
Ooh.
So it's what's crumbling now is that hierarchy.
Ooh,
instead.
yeah.
Oh
They
yeah.
use the rigidity,
Good.
and then, and because I think a little bit, it's like it's evolving now,
Yeah.
and I think it's maybe evolving in response to the fact that there isn't like this freedom of exchange and current.
Right.
Instead, it's very restricted. Very like we're pumping the Dole through these very linear things, and people aren't talking to each other the way that they used to. So I think magic is now. So what crumbled first is this corporate hierarchy is starting to like
the org structure, right?
Yeah.
It's really good because it's like the idea is that you're supposed to listen, and now folks are like, well, I guess technically I should be listening to the Dole, but also that isn't what I'm supposed to do, and that like
the cognitive dissonance these poor people are experiencing.
I'm trying to listen to everybody.
Right.
Is like basically whispering to.
We'll see if we can get some like more cool train noises or other in the basement.
That's where that temptation is coming in for our worlds.
Love that. Okay, I think that's good. I think I'll keep it at that. So like that starts to crumble, and I feel like the ramifications of that, it's like if we've kind of built society around this, then everything else starts to break apart as that kind of finds itself. All right, sir, it's your turn.
Awesome. Bring forth a card.
It's another face card, but it's the Queen of Clubs. So when magic was changed, how did wildlife change?
Okay. It started dancing. It started dancing to like the frequencies, and like it started with like really small things, like bees started like flying in different patterns, and like you saw like leaves, we watch the like slow-mo videos, you can watch plants move. They started to move very like slowly, and as over time like herd animals have started to like, everybody's calling it dancing, but like as close as they can get, as if they are hearing a very dope game soundtrack that no one else can hear.
That's so cool. That's so lovely. I just genuinely, I'm like, oh, that's such a fun, like, interesting thing where people are like, hey, what the fuck is happening? Like, why are like things moving differently now? And it's because there's frequencies that like we don't hear, but it's changing, and wildlife is now kind of listening to magic more. Especially because it feels like electricity is so separated from nature in reality.
And I love the idea that like all of the movements, again, we're talking like very linear, very rigid, very like stay on like a course that is set from somebody else. And the idea of like dance and free movement being like displayed by the world around you, like would be really like, I feel like the management could really lean in that, right? Like don't be a wild animal. Like just listen to me. It's like don't give into your baser instincts. Remember, you listen good, you is good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, that's fun. That's good. Okay, Rue. You ready to draw?
Ready.
You got the 9 of clubs, so it's an odd of clubs, so the cultures. Where do different cultures commonly converse?
Ooh. Interesting.
And also, what is a different culture? What cultures?
Yeah. I wonder if some of the cultures that are different are like this kind of mainstream that is coming from the executive and management, and then the places that we kind of expanded into and overtook, the like cultures that were already there are still not quite as integrated into whatever our like mainstream linear hierarchy is.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like a lot of that dissonance is those like borders where we have like kind of recently overtaken. I think those are the places where we see the most different, like jarring changes.
Interesting. Okay, cool. So we're like, so all these different like grand, because the dole let us build great civilizations and all these things. So it's like we're still expanding and we're growing our
Mhm.
thing. Okay, cool. So where do they commonly converse? Is it like at these junctions? Is it in
Mm.
like cities? Is it on the road?
Ooh.
Is it through emails?
Emails. Please no.
Please no.
These extravagantly built Slack channels.
Yeah. Built on the sides of mountains.
They're like social media, but it's just like posted on your like houses.
Oh,
On your caravans.
yeah.
Yeah, I like the idea of it being kind of at the borders. I also want to have it have something to do with like these like self-laying trains, but I can't
I have a thought.
quite
I
get
have a
there.
thought about that.
Yeah.
Is
go.
there maybe like even when you're going straight, like we know things don't turn quickly, but are there ways that the tracks kind of curve towards common points? Like is there some sort of ley line esque like, hey, we've noticed that like trains kind of get pulled to a certain location even when they appear to be going straight, they're kind of gently curving, and maybe there's some things that have popped up around them.
Or like I think we
Yeah.
could get really ambiguous and just say like the crossroads of where the different
Yeah.
trains, those straight train lines, or like as they're gently curving across in these kind of natural ways.
Yeah.
I also
I was
love
like,
how ominous it sounds to meet at the crossroads.
I also we need to read this out loud. This is from Luna in chat, and we don't need to read the whole thing, but you do need to hear the part of the sentence that says, the natural philosophers of the time tried and failed to make everything about electricity to the extent that the electric enema was the Gwyneth Paltrow goop of that era.
oh no.
Oh, Luna. We were like in the middle of, I see this big post and I'm just like, I'm gonna wait. I gotta wait to
I
read
gotta
that.
wait.
And I had no idea that's how that ended. That is our world.
That's not part of this game, everybody. That's just a thing that happened.
Of the
Maybe not your fantasy, Luna, but someone's fantasy.
The delay lines, kind of pull all these tracks together.
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
I like
also an
that.
interesting like, if this is all dull ley lines, is there some sort of interesting frequency resonance happening? Are they?
Maybe that's
Is it a
what.
listening post?
Oh, I like
Oh,
that.
Oh.
I like that. I also
oh.
like the idea like the frequencies are like somehow redirecting the ley lines, so to speak. Like as the frequencies change, maybe that's where the curve is starting to happen, right?
Ooh.
It's
It's
like the
changing like
magnet.
the routes.
Yeah, the waves themselves are altered.
Mhm.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. I like the term listening posts. I kind of felt like
Yeah.
that feels like a nice place. Crossroads being where these ley lines happen.
Listening posts is interesting. It makes me think of those like buildings or whatever where you can like whisper on one side and you can
Yes.
hear it on the other.
Yes.
Maybe it's like people on the train
Oh,
are like whispering things and you can hear it if you're at the post.
or like you don't even know necessarily where it's coming from on the line.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And maybe the magic is like now you're hearing things that people don't know that they're kind of like projecting out or broadcasting out. They're like having personal conversations and people are like, what was that about?
Yes.
The management that you were
I love
saying?
that. Like maybe in like ancient when we had Hertz, right? They were actually like collaboration. Like this is the way that
Mhm.
we communicate to these other communities to help bring them in and stuff. But as time went on, like the communities didn't need to talk to each other anymore. So now it's just kind of like
Mhm.
walking by someone on a cell phone call. But like you can I love that so
Yeah.
much.
I love that. Oh, hell yeah. Okay. Tony is next. We'll draw that. Tony is, and this we may have already done this one. 6 of hearts. No, we have
I
not.
get 6 of diamonds. I got a 6. I got a double 6.
You got double 6s.
Cherry bell.
6 of hearts. The land. What anomalies in the world are used as landmarks? How old are they? So we
Ooh.
started, I feel like, talking a little bit about it, but I think like I like the term anomaly being like what's like a weird thing that we use to do that.
Okay, so I think this is a thought I had earlier, but I think also with where we're going, it's really come back to it.
Mhm.
And that is, are there maybe there is music that is like maybe there are points where the frequency of music can bust through not just from animals but people.
Wait,
And
say that again. So the
the
frequency of
frequencies that are creating music that the animals are hearing easily, maybe there's some of those places that like anyone
oh,
traveling nearby can hear.
oh.
And I even just love the idea that like these sound like classic like video game music, right? Like this is like it is an audible tune. There's a sense of whether they are or not, right? And I think there's a lot of folks who have a lot of conversations about what they think they are, but they don't just sound they sound like old video game music, but they also evoke intense nostalgia, making people want to get closer to them. And I actually think that's the thing that
Ooh.
everyone picks up on. Like, so even if you can't hear it well, when you get this sense of longing for the past, you know you are near one of these nodes, no matter kind of how disconnected you are from being able to hear it.
Ooh.
I love it.
And are you saying that they like draw, like are you drawn to them, or is it just like when you hear it, it is this nostalgic sound that like is recognizable?
Um,
It,
I think
you know what I mean?
I think you can feel it even if you can't hear it. Like, so I think it's very evident there are two things happening. Like some people can hear it and they will talk about the music, and other people, after a while, people realize like everyone can feel the nostalgia even if they cannot hear the music. And navigators are people who have become very adept at like strictly attuning to the type of nostalgia they're feeling. And
Oh, so it's like emotional, so you can like tap
yeah,
into.
yeah,
You're like, oh, this reminds me of summers
yeah.
at like at the lake. It's like, and it's like you're like, oh, what the fuck do you mean by that kind of thing,
Yeah.
right?
And I think like I like the idea of maybe even like people have turned this into just actual music, so like you can play it and learn it, and it can just be like played on an instrument. But these are like these songs, and maybe even there are connected memories that these navigators like they can almost they will like describe like, yeah, this is like the time we were all down by the lake, and everybody's like, what lake, like what is this, but like they all have the same kind of sense of nostalgia for that particular node, and there is a song that goes near it, and when that song's played by anybody, like everybody kind of gets a glimpse of that thing.
I love that. Do you want to give them a name? Like, do we call them something?
Oh man, we got to.
And I love that you kind of created a profession also, is like there are specific people that can attune to it to
like become
like guides.
I mean, I love the like for staying in that kind of broader range, like I love something like these are the anthems, right? Like
Oh fuck!
Yes!
Fuck!
Yes!
So good.
That's so good.
I love
yeah.
like anthem nodes, or the anthems are so cool.
That's so cool. Shit.
And do you want to give a name to like the people that can attune to them, or is that less specific than I'm maybe picturing? Because this feels almost a little bit like a stalker, you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, here are all these things, and then like there are specific people who are like, oh, I'm a stalker, I know how to get us through these zones or something like that. Right?
Dr. Rogue's good. Roadie is the word that came to mind just because it's very
Roadie!
opera
Yes,
and travel
Conductors.
mixed.
Conductors is also very, very good because it goes both ways.
Conductors is also very good.
Goes both
I'm
ways.
gonna let y'all decide. I just got yelled at from down the stairs, so I'm gonna step away for a second.
Roadies was sick, but I love conductors. I think that's sick as hell.
Yeah.
Conductors.
Yeah, conductors feels a little more in vibe with kind of what we've been.
Yeah.
Because their whole thing is like, you know, you also have to listen to a conductor, or you got to watch them, listen to what they do, listen to what they say. So that could be, it's a whole part of navigating and maybe traveling safely is you have to listen to your conductor, right? Like you have to attune to them.
Well, like in music, right? Like they lead the orchestra, like exactly what Felicity's saying. Like it's the triple hit.
Yeah, that's such a good point.
And also
conductivity and magic.
Yes, like all of it. It's so
All
good.
of it.
Thank you, Felicity, for that.
Love that. All right, Rip.
Mm.
We're gonna do one more. Wow,
Ooh,
Jack
face
of
card.
Clubs. I think we already did this one.
Oh, yes.
When magic was locked, how did wildlife change? So, if you want to add a new element to the question, you're welcome to. Like, if you want to revisit it, add something new. How else has wildlife changed? Or we can draw another card.
Ooh. Yeah, let's draw another one for now.
Four of Spades. What is an important natural landmark? Are there any unknown places?
Interesting. Earlier, I was thinking about like, I forget what question we were on that like sparked this thought. But I was thinking like just the world itself has a lot of really deep caverns that we have to kind of get across. I think it was the transportation question, because I was like, what if things hovered over these giant caverns?
Yeah.
I don't know if that necessarily needs to be a thing now, but I just like the idea of there being like kind of the world, the planet is like a little pockmarked with these.
Like we got like ravines and caverns, and I really like that. Is it natural, or is it because we've like dug and grabbed. Well, I guess the question is natural landmark, so it would be.
Yeah, I was thinking natural that is just,
I like
at
that.
least as far as we know, just kind of naturally the way that this planet has been for a long time. There's
Where's it?
just these, giant ravines.
I do feel like that kind of resonates. Viditya talked about this being a very like veins of like deep veins of gold in the earth, right? So even just being able to see like precious metals, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of like like along the sides of these travel through.
Yeah, and maybe that's how they became so common, is that there was just access to these things a lot more easily. Like we didn't have to dig in; it was just already kind of exposed to us.
That's really cool. And do we? So the second part of that question is: are there any unknown places?
Ooh.
Do we
Does that have to
know?
be a part of this or like a separate thing?
A little up to you. Like, do you want it to be that like we don't know what goes down under?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Is
Yeah.
that like the depths, the very like depths of it we haven't explored into, and like, or maybe like one or two we have, and things went bad, or like maybe like we used the dole in some way for that, and it like really freaked out in like the depths of these ravines, and we're like, okay, maybe we can't do that.
Yeah, I like the idea of like we don't know what created the ravines. Like we know that
Yeah.
it's natural, but was it like a creature? Was it a
Mhm.
phenomenon? Like
Yeah.
what? We don't know.
Yeah, that might be another like part of it that is like part of like people's theories, is like they come up with ideas of what caused it, just because whenever anyone asks about it, they're like, they're just there. You don't need to know any more about that.
Right.
Like any official people.
When we're meant to know, a memo will be sent.
Yeah.
Ooh, I like that a lot. The executive has not told us what this is about. You know,
Yeah.
like, our
It's on a need
people
to know basis.
Yeah.
love that.
If y'all,
That's for the board report.
also, if y'all aren't caught up on the chat, do you know what they call a conductor who only works part time?
This was very good.
A semiconductor.
Mhm.
Oh, that's so good. Oh my god.
Oh, no.
Oh, Caro, pun master.
Also, you got a great pull quote here from Luna. I'm still reading about the electricity craze of the 19th century. It's really good. This game lets you create a world and learn about the real world at the same time.
This game is a world building game that I don't know if it's specifically Lino's Magic, so this is now like a different game idea, but a world building game that taps into people's like desire to deep dive niche things, I think can be really fun. It's like you bring in, or it's a game that gets you to be like, all right, you're gonna deep dive the like tulip mafia of Holland's like whole thing, you know. And then we're going to build a world out of it or something like that.
Everybody does a 5-minute presentation on their special interest at the beginning, and that's how you build your palette.
And that's how we build the palette.
Yeah.
That's what, it's instead of just being like touchstones, like, what are we thinking about? It's like presentations on the touchstone that we're thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
My touchstone for today is.
Oh, I do love that. I might give that game a shot. That might be kind of fun. All right, but Rue just went, so it's Tony, right?
Is it me again already? That's great.
No, because I think we did a little bit wonkadoo.
Did something
Is it you? Is it?
Oh,
wait, hold on. So it's Tony. Oh, you're right. Tony should have gone twice. That's Rue. That's me. That's Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's Tony. Never mind. You came up with anthems.
Yeah. I think
that's Rue.
I think
that's me.
I think it's you. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. All right. This is 5 of hearts. This is the odd of hearts. What relics remain of an ancient ancestry between many cultures? Ooh, I kind of, because we kind of have like this like magic electricity thing. I really am just thinking like Disney's Atlantis. you know,
Ooh.
with like these like machines that have like almost archaic keyholes and slots to
Mhm.
put like, I like the idea, like we capture the dole in maybe more sophisticated like batteries and lanterns and stuff, but this is like I like the idea of like resonance, and maybe now that we see that like it comes from the earth, or at least it's like like our world is full of conductive metals
Yeah.
and materials, and then the dole is like given to us by uh to be used with this. I imagine like there are like crystals or strange like like gemstones from the that would just hold it, and then this like these ancient civilizations would like power things by plugging in, but maybe like they didn't know exactly how to harness it, or like or something like that. It's like they would need to use natural things to be powered, and then they would take those somewhere else. So again, like a lot more in tune with the natural cycle of stuff. Like that, when the dole was given to them, they would use it rather than like kind of being able to spread it out farther than we can and like pull it in different places. So I think like I'm wondering like, again, we're giving good names to things. Do we have like a name for what this like what these relics are called?
Tell me what they do one more time. Say it again.
I'm okay. I'm also now thinking of like a specificity, but I think they're just like ancient machines that need like that you can power with dole, but it's like much more natural, much more
Maybe like amplifier or
amplifiers are good, yeah.
I'm trying to think of maybe, is there something we can pull? I want to go to our touchstones. I want more apothecary diaries in there somehow. Like, is there something?
Ooh.
Weird like
Yeah.
conspiracy kind of there is a lot of strange technology, or like kind of early technology in there. Ooh. Amplifiers. I wish I knew more
Yeah, some kind of like
medicinal
conduit
terms.
thing.
Conduits. I do actually just really like the term conduit also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to think of like apothecary related things. I'm like some kind of like salve, but I was like, I don't know if that exactly makes sense.
Quick, chat, Google apothecary tools.
You're playing the other game. Look up the Wikipedia entry.
That's how watches work. Yeah, I think I'm gonna call them like quartz.
Oh.
Yeah.
Quartz conduits.
They've got here for containers we could do it like a crucible.
Oh, quartz crucibles.
Ooh.
Naturally contain and gather dole. Remains I like that a lot. And that could have been like this like early understanding of how to utilize stuff, and people are still kind of finding these like I guess like me as a designer, I like this question a little bit because to me it feels like it gives I always think about it as this is the dungeon question. Like where did like what do you find at the end of the dungeon in this fantasy world?
I was just
think,
waiting
like,
for you to say that one of them is a giant sword plunged into the world.
It could be. Tony. These like crucibles are like magic items that like are naturally like built of whatever dual conductive thing that's in there. It's like magic items that are down in like deep ruins.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like kind of, in the ravines are also kind of our dungeons and stuff.
And I know it's not one of our touchdowns, but you brought up like Tales from the Loop earlier, and I even just love that like we've realized some of them are helpful and some of them should be avoided. Like there's ones that if you pull up next to them, like you can like, pull out a flower and start squeezing it and just water will come out of that flower until your travel jugs are all full. And then, but there's another one that like, you know, just hurts to be near. And
Oh yeah. I like that. Like they just, and I imagine like now that Magic is changing, like Magic is evolving into talking to each other in these strange frequencies. I bet like these crucibles are getting like much more dangerous and much more powerful because I feel like ancient understandings of like if the dole is kind of evolving into a sort of like weird sentience, right? Like not literally, but it's like starting to talk and it's starting to do like these are like ancient dole that is deeply powerful.
I wonder, are they, I mean, are they loud? Like, I mean, what, even if that loudness is like not like, just think about the amount of dole there and like, you know, like just like you get near them and there's like an overwhelming hum in the background, or
I like
yeah. I was just thinking like some kind of white noise thing where you're it's not necessarily like jarring, but you can't ignore it necessarily.
Maybe something like walking into a server room where it's just like loud fans and like maybe there's like some like visual things where like there are just like weird lights that blink around you that aren't necessarily attached to anything. Like it has like a aura effect.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. I like that a lot. I think there's something really funky about that. I also had an idea, but it's completely lost me. Oh, the Adam in chat also says consider earworms. The noise can't leave your mind, and then that to me is like that's what like maybe that's like what we call like the keepers of these like creatures that like keep these that have now made them their home are like the earworms or something. But worm like dragon, you know.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it so much.
Also, I'm just now realizing, and I say this as if I didn't write this. It is said that magic was given to us by the executive. Is like my literal terminology. I feel like maybe these crucibles can also be a sort of atheistic, you know, like
there is an executive. Look at these.
There's an idea. Like how did they like these crucibles just naturally
happen,
select and create these like just like
a guy named Brad didn't do this.
Yeah. I think there could be some fun conflict in the world about like what do these relics actually tell us about the history that we think we know. Okay, and then I think the last one, no, it was Tony.
So you just did the quartz crucible.
So I think it's Sarah. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and then Rue ends us. So Rue does the second one. That's what it is. It is the two of diamonds. Even diamonds. What is a common transportation method that caravans utilize? We can come up with another one, or you could draw another card.
Let's draw another card because I think we were pretty thorough with that one.
Two of clubs. What is a common hazard while traveling? What is the most feared hazard?
I want to say I want to say that there's like a creature, like a pack creature of sorts that eats gold or something like that, that roams the surface. So when you have these like cars or trains or whatever that are just like giant moving things of gold, that they're attracted to that, like in droves, sort of a thing. So it's this weird like. I like in my mind they're very like reptilian or something like that.
Ooh, weird reptilian eats gold. There's got to be something there, right? Like there's got to
be... or even if it's just like the electromagnetism that like the gold is rotated. Like there's something about the way that these vehicles operate. I know this isn't one of our touchstones, but I'm kind of going to Dune, right?
Sure.
Where like sound summons the worm, so that bumpers. Like I'm thinking something along those lines, but with the electromagnetism.
I'm thinking eels, like
Yeah,
electric
yeah.
eels.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah.
Or
Oh my
Tony,
gosh.
you also had an idea?
No, I was gonna say
Yeah.
I was the like as you were talking about, I was like immediately like, how did they form a pit up ahead to try to like essentially drop a a caravan in and just be able to like feast on stuff. I love them as like weird digging semi underground reptiles, not like dune worms, but like claws tearing at the earth.
Here's what I think it is. I think it's a combination. I think they're like these weird eel like creatures. Maybe they have like some like big weird arms that come out to kind of help carve through the earth, and it's not like a food source. It's that the electromagnetic the waves that are emitted by the cart are like distressful to these eels and like are like the same frequency as like an attack cry or like something like a threat, and so they're trying to like neutralize the threat to like protect the pack or the colony or something like that. And we, especially with the dole like changing frequencies, we don't have control. We haven't been able to like mitigate that. So it's just kind of accepted that like as you're going, if you come across one of these like herds of creatures, it's very difficult to turn and whatever. So you have to make sure you have enough dole to like hover above any pits or like you have to have extra dole, right? Like to make sure that if this happens, you can still navigate over. Otherwise, you will like go down into pits or ravines that these things create and crash and kind of get stranded until something can come straight to direct to help you.
I love that. Okay, cool. Do we want to give them a name? What do we call them?
The Rue put out the game soundtracks, and I can't stop thinking about Anamanaguchi, who uses like old game sounds to like make something like that. So maybe like just the first half of that of like Anamanas.
Anamana. Oh, Anamana. I love that.
Anamanas also has the thing you tell your kids about when they're young to terrify them vibes also.
I love that. So is that the common hazard, or is that the most
I think so. I think that that's like, and again, maybe we've kind of gotten used to it. So like
I do like that though.
The plan is just like you always have to have extra dole to make sure that you can hover like higher than you think that you'll need.
Yeah. And there's just like pits, and it's like, oh, you got to be careful of the Anamanas.
Like you don't want to get a flat tire. You don't want to run into any Anamanas. Like
yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Or like it makes me think of like Yosemite, where you're like, there are bears. You just lock up your food. Like even though that is kind of like when you think of it, you're like, that's kind of a really wild thing to just be like, a bear might just come into your campsite. It's fine.
Buy bear spray. Be prepared. Like maybe before when they first started using dole, it was a bigger issue because maybe like because everyone was kind of coming to it, getting the proper amount of dole was like more difficult. Like it was a more constrained resource. So you had to collaborate and like really work together to like get all of the stuff together. But now like it's a little bit less of an issue.
I love that. What is the most feared hazard? So we have a common hazard, and then what's something that like we really don't want to happen? Like the Anamanas are something that we can plan for. Or like that just will happen. Technology is, whatever. This is the thing that you have to be like.
Yeah. I'm a West Coast girl, so I'm gonna say the thing that like freaks me out as a hazard here is earthquakes. Like big earthquakes that like maybe some people think that that's what's creating the ravines or but essentially it disrupts like everything in the ground, and so like it will completely derail you and send you straight off course, and it's like really difficult to know what impact it's going to have until it's too late. Like you will just truly get sent out into the wild if like or like you'll be swallowed up by the earth itself as it's happening. Like I don't know why, but in my mind the landscape here is pretty like maybe there's like some hills, but it's kind of like a jagged and flat, like very flat. And so like an earthquake where suddenly like the Rocky Mountains appears in front of you is kind of a problem.
Yeah. I'm also like picturing, I'm kind of maybe also picturing kind of mesas. So it's like
Yes.
it's like flat, but then a lot of like kind of big
Yes.
jutty things. So
Yeah,
we
like
can lay
sheer
track
cliffs.
sheer cliffs and things.
Yes.
So I think we're on the same page there. But then also potentially like, oh, and then there's kind of something about it with gold is in, you know, we have like these veins of gold and all these different kind of I think the aesthetic is there. Okay, cool. I love the idea. It's like, and then if there's a fucking earthquake, we got to be careful about
like
this.
I'm pulling like I had to confirm like, but like the painted desert in Arizona, how you
Painted
can see
desert,
the
Yeah,
different
yeah.
lines and everything, like that's very
Mhm.
much what I'm getting. But like you'll just have these huge bands of gold and all of that. Like I think that would
Yeah.
be sick as hell.
Yeah. All right, let's do Rue's last question on this table, and then we will move on because I like 2 questions for this table, and we built a real big picture of this world. Actually, Rue, you already answered this specific question, so I'm just going to skip it for you.
Thanks.
Oh, and I already answered this also. This is it is what relics remain of an ancient ancestry. Do you want to add a new thing? Do you want to expand on this, or do you want to draw a new card?
Let's draw a new one.
Sure.
Ooh.
10 of spades is what is an... Oh my god, you already answered this question. It's fine. It's fine. I'm working on it, everybody. I'm working on it. Oh, here we go.
Okay,
The magic
there we
was. What toll did magic take to cast? What has recovered since it has changed? Since it has evolved?
Ooh, interesting. What toll did magic take to cast? I also don't know if we've really established how common magic is to do, or if it's like only some people do magic, but people can like utilize it.
I was actually just going to ask. I would love for you to maybe, if I can put out a want, I would love for you to maybe, like, we have magic as a literal energy source that we gain, and then we put something. I'd love to know if we do have like casters, if we have people that like can channel or control or something, and I'm okay with like, it's like you still need to like plug it into you, or you still need to like whatever, but I'm curious if they're like take this word kind of like, you know, what toll did it take magic to cast in that maybe more traditional sense?
I love the idea that there is like magic casters. Once you start asking that, I think they're like outcasts of society, that like casting magic is seen as this sort of abnormal use of the dole, and that like it's because it takes, I'm thinking like it takes a decent amount of dole to cast magic, so it's like this idea that you're taking maybe more than you need, especially in this like hierarchy. Maybe like in the past it was seen as more of like, well, of course the magic casters need more dole, so they take more. That just makes sense. But now, as like things have become very like streamlined, it's thought of as like a waste to use it for magic casting.
Nice.
So the casters are all kind of like outcasts or in the fringes. I think what has recovered since it was locked.
Or like, what was the toll
Or
you said again?
It's like the social toll. Like they
It's-
are.
Yeah,
okay.
I think it's more of like a social toll, and also it just takes a lot of dole to do
It takes,
it.
and it's a lot of energy. Okay. That's yeah.
It takes like a decent amount. What has recovered since it has changed? I think casters are able to like reuse dole. Like they're able to like,
they're a recycling agent.
yeah, they're like able to continue using it, so that even though they're kind of pushed out of society and away from their sources, they're still able to do magic now.
I like the idea. I love this idea for like so many reasons, right? Because we've kind of like, even when we were first describing like the dole, we're like putting it in vessels, right? Like it's in containers, it's contained, and like the idea of casting, you're like projecting it out. It feels antithetical to like all of it. And then like the recycling or reuse, like as the frequencies change, it's almost like this dole can now be like, you can use it for two things simultaneously instead of just like the one thing, which is like such a cool idea that like you would, you know, if you didn't have the right container to utilize dole in this certain way, you'd have to find a caster, but like you'd have to go do that. And now casters have more utility, and they're also like breaking that hierarchy of like the management being like, you must do it this way, and the caster's kind of like, or, you know, like, I love that. I think that's sick.
You can bring it to me. I also like that, like, with that, they might be people that folks will be like, well, I kind of know this guy. I don't tell anybody that I know them, but I'm gonna take my like wasted dole over there and see if I can get some extra stuff for myself. So it's like, at least for now, like someone that people might kind of get in touch with in secret.
I like that a lot.
I really love that. I think that's so interesting. It was seen as a waste, but I like this. It also, it's like the implication that like dole is something that we can and should be in communication with. There's like a term there, like we should, in the natural order of stuff is
communing with it, right? Like we should be in contact. It shouldn't be like contained, controlled. Like it is something that like is gifted or like given and should therefore be used and not necessarily like managed.
And then like it evolving is like, hey, we've like, for realsies, you should be using us because it recycles us. Like kind of, it's like it's like changed to be like, guys, there's actually a benefit to this. Okay, cool. Do you want to give a name to these casters? I just wrote casters.
I was trying to come up with like, I was trying to look up like some electrical thing that can like disrupts electricity, but I can't really. I was just like, something that disrupts electricity, and nothing has come up from that.
I mean, so like grounding an electrical current is what you do.
Ooh.
Grounding.
So like grounders.
There's also like diode, which is
Diode's
like a semiconductor device, hilarious, that acts as a one-way switch for current. So the idea is like it can kind of switch the current or something.
Ooh, okay, yeah, I like that. Like they're diodes.
That is a sick word.
I
love the term diode as our casters. That rips. All right. Okay, cool. So we are going to move on to the second part of this game.
There's a whole nother part.
It's crazy, right? We've built so much of this world already. This is when, so we've done a lot of broad zoom out stuff. We are going to now zoom in a bit, and we'll spend a little bit of time building a city. So there's a bunch of different stuff that we're looking at and a bunch of really cool ideas that we have. Let's hone in on some of them and then focus in on like a specific place with potentially specific people and specific factions and all these, and also a specific local legend that we will build off of. And it comes with a little choice as well. And so we won't spend as much time as we have in this city that we did with the world itself, but we'll get some fun stuff out of it. So here's our city table. And the way we're going to do this is another setup table. So we'll draw a card. We'll see. We'll figure out the city's influence. We'll figure out its regional variant of magic, because magic is. This will be like, how do these people deal with magic and like what's the specialty of it and how is it changing, and then also a local legend, so not necessarily the legend of Chancellor Hertz, but of something specific to them. And Rue just went, so we're gonna start with Tony. We're gonna do its influence. Its influence is Jesus Christ. Oh yeah, you got another 6. 6 of diamonds. So innovation. It is a nexus of learning and invention. What is the city's like proximity to like a landmark? Why is this place a nexus of learning and an invention?
I think this is we can come up with a name for it in a second. But I think this place is like one of the nostalgia landmarks. But it's specifically the first day of school. Like as this song kind of like arrived, the nostalgia memory that was connected to it, that the navigators all like kind of was like a child going to school on the first day, and there's a mix of anxiety and excitement and other things, but it really has helped like make this a place that like the nervousness and potential like kind of makes everybody wake up ready to face that challenge kind of
I love that.
And so like not every nostalgia, like not every anthem like is a pleasant nostalgic memory. This one just happens to be and most of them I think are fairly neutral, like, you know, even this one, but this one has kind of been harnessed for the purpose of the city. Does anybody have
for the purpose of what?
Like has been harnessed for the purpose of the city, like to be this
Gotcha,
place of learning and I mean, based on first day of school vibes, does anybody have a name that they like?
I kind of like the idea of a city, like this is pretty on the nose, but like a city called Potential.
I like that.
I do like that.
It feels like very earnest in the same way that like the first day of school, like it is very like it is what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
That's better than I had, which was new shoes.
Hell yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I was also just going in a goofy direction. My head was like Appleton.
Yes.
I really like Potential.
There's like 3 names crossed off before somebody's like Potential, which has been there for like a couple of decades, but like there were a few attempts.
There were attempts, yeah, but I think people really like it. Okay, I love that. I love Potential. It is me. Its regional variant of magic is secretive, feared or shunned if seen in public. That's very interesting.
That is interesting.
I think it's because there is a unique. Oh no, it's like we've essentially established this. This is also a I'm already thinking of conflicts. I think this is like a place of learning and innovation. This first day of school stuff is a part of like the greater culture. So it's like within the culture of the management, and it's like we're learning, you know, everyone's learning about the executive and like this big, like, you know, we were given this energy and you listen to your teachers and your teachers listen to these people, right? And I think there is also in Potential a kind of like underground secret school for diodes. And like that. Oh, it's the undercurrent.
The undercurrent is very
amazing.
good.
Hell yeah.
So good.
Yeah, the undercurrent school for diodes is
that sounds band name called it. That's sick.
Yeah. I love that. And they're learning to like cast magic and
Mhm.
cast the duel and
I really love the
see.
fucking YA novel we just launched a series on.
It's so wide
There's
novel. Here's
plenty of
the
potential.
the true secret
really
of
is.
Orlando's Magic is it's very you're gonna get really invested in your weird YA fantasy world. Like you're like you're gonna get some big ideas that maybe if you actually wrote a full story about would be a little cringe but rips and is awesome.
Hell yeah.
Now we just
Undercurrent's
need
cool.
like the big competition that everyone has to be a part of.
Right?
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I even like the
I think
mild
that's
giver vibes of that, of like the diodes
Yeah.
being able to pick up on people who are like students who are not listening to the
Mhm.
normal, like, who have this
Yeah.
natural
Yeah.
resistance.
I like
Very-
that.
And to Rue's point, maybe there's like some weird ritual that the students do, like that the staff totally like doesn't condone, where they're openly casting like in a potential or something. Like there's like a race or like you have to activate this one what did we call them, the crucible or something.
Oh
like,
yeah, yeah.
you know what I mean, in this weird sort of like
There's some trial that
yeah,
Mhm.
that's like
I
a
love
student
that.
run, not condoned by the actual undercurrent.
That's so good.
Yeah.
And then so Sarah, you have a local legend is told of a child. Titled for their bravery or foolishness. So, and it could be like I think I like the idea of like who's telling this legend, like, or who are they a local legend of?
I like the idea that it's like it's twofold, right? Like it's different sides of a single coin. So you have like the diodes and how they perceive this person, and then the normies and how they perceive this person. And I want to say that it's I want to go more like their bravery, or like their
Sure.
almost like their stubbornness. Like I like the idea of like a little diode kid having sort of like a standoff with local officials of some kind. Like there was an
Ooh.
incident
Mhm.
and this kid just gave them the business and like held ground for an extended period of time. And so like for the diodes, it's sort of like, did you ever meet this person like that they were so brazen and bold and able to like exist in plain sight with their gift, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side, it's like, this is why diodes aren't included, right? They think they're better than everybody else. They like, it's like that weird flip, where for one side it's like this symbol of authenticity and like living in the open, and then for the other it's like it would be fine if they weren't so loud, you know what I mean, something like that.
Yeah.
Everyone tells the legend, but how they tell it is different.
It's very
Yes,
different. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Do we have a name for the kid, like a title? Like what do we call them? Like, oh, this is the story of
The
Uh,
Doretto.
yeah, it's Dominic Doretto. That's his,
Dominic
it's
Doretto.
Dominic Doretto.
I love, yeah, there it is.
Oh my gosh, that's what it is. Dominic stole like a local, like took over like a tram or something, like some sort of public
And
transit
yeah,
in the city, and like was able to just like drift
using
it around, and that's why
Yeah.
the authorities couldn't catch him, is because like they were being held to like the straight and narrow, and he was literally doing figure eights around them. I love that so much.
That's so funny. But it was for his family.
It was for his family,
Oh
because
my
he doesn't have
God.
friends.
So
He's fast and
good.
furiousing these
Yes.
trains.
He's fasting and furiousing so much. I love that. Okay, cool. So we're going to now make a choice. Do we feel like potential is a city crumbling or a city flourishing? And this is like, we can think about it too. It's like its future. So it's like, does it see itself? So a city crumbling is this table is where you flesh out a city with a troubled past, but possibly a brighter future. Or a city flourishing is a city with a bright future, but for how long?
I like the idea that it's flourishing. Well, actually, I'm taking that back. I like the idea that it's crumbling. It was that potential, and now like there's almost like an irony of it being called potential, and it's like
Ooh.
becoming a dump. You know.
Mhm.
I'm into it. Is everybody else into crumbling?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was leaning towards crumbling too.
Nice. So this is our crumbling table.
I'd say we won't get our awards for our young adult novel if it's
If it's a
not
city
crumbling.
flourishing.
Yeah, true. It's got to have that dystopian for
Yeah.
the search engine. Dystopian.
Dystopian severance fanfic.
Dystopian.
Hashtag YA severance.
is Mark
Here we
S family? Question mark.
Casting Sabrina Carpenter.
Oh my god. Okay, so I think a bit for the sake of time and pacing, we'll go through this questions once. So we each just get one question. We'll think about the world and then dig into this city because it's another question, like prompt questions table. And then that'll take us into our kind of final bit for this game. Who was
It is Rue.
It is Rue. Thank you. Oh, thank you, sir. I
got you.
it.
I got you, homie.
Fully lost. All right. Well, we're starting with the influence. A king of hearts.
Of hearts. Okay.
And when it says the legend, it means our local legend.
Okay.
Oh, hell yeah.
Latch onto after magic was changed. Ooh.
What about the
Interesting. I think I'll stick to like the dichotomy we have with this child where like for the diodes it's this idea of like, okay, the magic is changing, so what our legend did, maybe we can do like something more with that. We can change how things are working so that it works with the evolving magic. And I think for kind of the upper echelon of people, they're like almost like that was the beginning of the end, to like allowing someone to get away with this kind of thing is the reason that everything is falling apart or is like starting to kind of fray at the edges. So they're becoming more and more rigid, I think, with the way that they're working.
What did you say? The end of like this is the end of you should put it well, and I was writing.
I am also.
Oh no! Okay,
like this is where the hierarchy started to like fray at the edges.
Yeah.
The very evocative thing that you said that I was like, yeah.
Yes. An
like
omen, I can say, fraying at the edge. And then I'll put the word omen because I think that's also fun. And then do we want to give a name to kind of like, so we have like the diodes of that school. Do we want to give maybe like this other school or should I just say that potential, like the general idea of like the authorities of potential? Or do we want to give a name to like this other faction, this other place?
I mean, I think I like that we went with like, this could be an opportunity to pull back in some of that like severance, like corporate structure. We could do like colleagues or like employees or resource, like not resources is too icky. I don't like that one. Department,
yeah.
I mean, so like the diodes and department. Hell yeah.
The diodes and the department. Is potential also specifically seen as like this was supposed to be like a place of education for greater kind of management workshop. So it's like this is like the
the professional development.
Department of Professional Development. But we just call it the department.
Yeah.
The leadership training.
I was gonna say learning and development department.
Department of it's not R&D, it's L&D.
Yeah, L&D, learning and development.
And cool. I love that. Tony, it's you, buddy. Woo! Another legend question. Where is the legend now? Why are the people distraught by this?
Ooh. Oh, that's so interesting too, because they're like they were a kid, so feasibly they're like still kind of going around and doing things.
Yeah.
There's so many ways this could go, and I'm so excited.
Yeah. What do you think of Tony?
So I think the like there is a the Crucible, like the local Crucible has a series of like small outcroppings that each do something a little bit different. But the furthest one out, if you've been able to kind of I think, you know, do a couple different specific things to kind of pass these initial tests that they have the kids do now. The last one that opens up is this shimmering like portal between two like big metal outcroppings, like energy kind of that whips back and forth between them. And I think the legend like went through them. And it hasn't opened. Like every once in a while the people will like hear like this buzzing and smell this ozone coming from out in the distance, but nobody has seen them since they went through that energy field. And so I don't know that we know where they are other than through that portal.
I love that a lot. And I also like to, oh my gosh, I like the idea that portal like only shows up on certain days, like almost like a Brigadoon sort of thing. Like nobody's really positive. Oh, I love it.
Like you have to know how to do the things to get there, which is why they keep on like testing these other diodes like as part of their diodes. But it also only works on certain days.
Yeah.
Like so the first step is just kind of figuring out when you even try to do that.
Yeah. Do you, maybe part of why it's distraught is maybe a rumor has emerged, or like people have like started to ask if Tom and Nick went to see the executive?
Well, I like the idea that like rumors.
Oh, that's great.
That he went to see
Turncoat.
He was summoned to the executive floor.
To the executive suite. Yeah.
Ooh.
Rumors say that he was. I'm just gonna summon to the executive suite.
Yeah. So that could go like either way, right? Like if you're an optimist, like he's gonna convince the executive to like make things better for diodes. If you're pessimist, he's a turncoat. If you're on the other side, it's like shit, he's talking to our like boss's boss. You know, or like finally the executives
and like there are people who are like, how come they got to talk to him? Like,
yeah.
Even we don't get to talk to the executive.
I want to pull to something like that we said way back, which is like I think the last words he said before.
Oh damn you!
Was maybe something cryptic. Like it's not like I'm going to see it's just like I think he maybe says something like oh, like I'm answering their call or something, you know, like something very vague that's like, what the fuck did he mean by that? And then he walks through a portal and then it's like, he's talking about the executives and, you know, like
or something. You never hang up when family calls or something really, something like very I love it.
Oh, you
But
never
just
hang up.
generates like a
And-
bunch of rumors. People are like, what do they mean?
What do they
Right.
mean?
Is he a child of the executive? What's happening?
And then I think like maybe that lineage to also pull in like the magic of last words is like those people that heard that are like those that have continued this
Yeah.
like the diode school and are like fuck
Yeah.
well somebody's gotta figure this out, you know. It's like goddamn
Mhm.
family, you never give up,
Yes.
you never hang up on
Yes.
family calls. So we got to keep calling our family or something like that, you know.
Mhm.
Yes, I love it. I love it.
It's so fun. Hell yeah. This is me. This is a 9 of clubs. So the past. What event sent the city into turmoil once? What pulled it out? I want to think about the city a little bit outside of our nice boy Dominic. Let's do. I like that we like establish earthquakes. Maybe we could do like
Ooh.
an earthquake hit the city, or it's a place of learning. Anthem. It's a place of an anthem. I think an earthquake hit, but it shifted the frequency of the anthem of the first day of school. And I think like everyone who is resonant to it experienced like maybe something else, like something way worse. Like it's that nostalgia of the first day of school where it's like the potential of it, but then the earthquake hit, it shifted stuff, and then instead of it just being like, uh-oh, like the ground is opening up, the ground is shaking, it's instead like, this is no longer the potential of the first day of school. This isn't the excitement. This is the dread. This is the, oh my God, like, I don't want to leave my parents for the first time, or I don't want to, like, I don't want to go back there, or like, I'm terrified of starting this school. So it's, I think like,
What if
that
I got
was,
the
like,
wrong new shoes
what
and
if
I
I got
don't
the
fit
wrong-
in?
Yeah.
Or those like nightmares you have where you're like, I go
Yeah.
to school and it's like I forgot my schedule and no one's
Yeah.
where they're supposed
No
to
one's,
be.
yeah, it's like I'm gonna be late to all my classes, or none of my friends are in. What if none of my friends are in my classes or whatever?
Yeah.
So I think like that nostalgia, the tone of it shifted a bunch. Caused that tonal shift. What pulled it out? I am interested if people have an idea, to be honest. I like the idea of maybe I mean, we could bring the diodes back because they just seem like a fan favorite amongst us. But it could just be a community thing also. I think maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe it could be a like, again, to do with like listening. Like perhaps there was this like, it's like, it's going to be okay kind of thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love leaning into the idea. Like I've heard the phrase, like people often show up as their best selves when like a community, like in the face of a natural disaster, that's when they're like actively trying to help their neighbors and stuff. And like I kind of like this very optimistic take on that, is like that's when they actually started listening again, like to each other, and not just like doing what they were told. They were listening to like, this person down the street is saying like they are hurt or they need this, and like it was like the community response to it, sort of a thing. And because of that, it was, they were able to like, it's almost like there was also this group experience because of that. Like it kind of all came together.
I do.
Yeah, I love like the idea that like folks who were here were just kind of giving into the, like the nostalgia of the anthem, right? And that's what had drawn, and then like being like, holy shit, this fucking sucks now. And basically kind of like learning to listen to each other again, drown that out.
Yeah. It kind of like
for
broke them
themselves.
out of that
Very, yeah.
compliance.
Rather than just the anthem, like driving their excitement and their potential. Instead, it's like, yeah, we're looking at each other and we're excited about that. I like that. I think that's lovely, beautiful, sweet, and good. Okay. And then it's Aaron. Yes.
Yeah.
Go.
This is the 6 of Hearts, so
Nice.
Trials of the People. What must one do to keep the city's spotlight? Who has it now? So we'll make
Yeah, so I love the idea of we're doing like the two like kind of city centers that exist in the one, right? So for the diodes, I like the idea of like who got furthest in the trials, right? Like you have to like it is the you are able to be as showy as you could with your abilities, which means that you like are there's a mastery, but it's like that hungry competitive spirit. And the opposite is true of like the department, where it's almost like it's like a compliance thing. You completed all your compliance training. You answered all your inbox is at 0. There are no unreplied to ats in your Slack channel. Like it's
yeah.
but like it's and maybe there's like I like the idea that there's a to kind of go into like the very like corporate, there's like almost like a leaderboard or something of like unread emails. That's like you always like you're trying to get to 0, right?
Most days in a row with inbox at 0.
Yeah, but it's like a like impossible feat.
Yeah.
Just because management is constantly sending messages, like you could literally like write a script to just mark every email as read, but somehow you would still have like 35.
Awful. I kind of put it all under like employee of the month stuff.
Yes.
I like like impossible productivity competitions.
Yes.
Yeah. Who has it right now? So like maybe who, and I like, you seem to have two sides. We're playing into two sides.
Yeah.
So like who are the two like star players of the diodes and of the department right now?
I think I'm just gonna build a little mini narrative in here really quick. I think for the diodes, it's actually like a member of like the faculty that kind of has that right now as sort of the hero or the icon is gone, and so this person is kind of stepping in to kind of challenge the youth to like pick it up and be there, like a cool hip teacher.
Yeah.
And I think in the department, it is it's a young woman named Tiffany. She is 23 years old. And like I'm thinking very like Legally Blonde kind of like where she is just like maybe she's not at 0, but she is the closest that anyone has ever gone, and people are just blown away by Tiffany.
I love that. People are blown away. It's like she's the next. She's like everyone's like, oh, you're climbing the ranks.
Yeah, people are
scared of her.
Her colleagues are pissed that she hasn't been transferred to management already.
She's on the management track. You know what I'm saying?
But like, just come get her already. Like, we get it.
I love that. It's like the prodigy.
Yeah.
That's very fun. I
management
love a cool
track is also a very exclusive hover caravan.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, cool. So normally we could do more rounds of this, but I think I want to make sure that we have a little bit amount of time to do our like final thing. So I'll bring us out towards the technically the last thing that we do in A Land Once Magic, which is like it's kind of the epilogue, but I like to think of it more like the prologue of a potential story that is happening. So we kind of looked at the city. We went from broad to specific, and now we're going to get even closer to the ground by doing a journey in the land. This is, you will zoom in even further to look at a group of people traveling in your world. You will see who they are, what they are doing, and finally a story that is being told during that time. This table brings you right down to the ground, a moment to see what you've created from the perspective of the people. So here is our final table for A Journey in the Land. And and it's a 3-parter. And at the end of this, we'll do one final little thing that's not in the book right now. But let's see kind of where we're going. And I have, this is unwritten, but I like to think that like when traveling, like we're traveling to our city. So this is like people traveling towards potential, or we could say they're traveling out of potential, but I like the anchoring it kind of within the city that we're making. So we will go to Rue. When traveling with a that is the Joker. Joker does nothing.
Oh dang!
I know.
So
I have like a to-do list for the final version of All I Know Is Magic, and literally I just have in there pretty strictly something with the fucking Jokers, because I'm like upset because every time they show up I go, this should be a cool thing, but God fucking damn it, I hate thinking about these goddamn Jokers. I don't know. Do you want to do a wild card route? Do you want to pick one of the things on the list?
Oh, okay.
What excites you? So it would be when traveling with a company, troop, nomads, or pilgrimage.
Yeah, the circus like grabbed my eye very quickly when I saw this list, so I'm gonna just go with that.
I love that. What could that possibly mean in our world? What is a circus like? When traveling with a troop, a circus troupe.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have an idea of what that looks like? Do you have like an image in your head of what you think this circus troupe in our strange world looks like?
Yeah, I love the idea that they've like commandeered maybe like broken one of those self-laying trains, and like that's how they get around, is that they've like somehow put it back together again, but it works very like broken, like it's breaking down all the time, or like they never have quite enough dole, so they're like, okay, I guess we're just way out here in the outskirts and we'll walk the rest of the way. Like that's just where they set up. They're like, the circus is here, and you like look at the map zoomed out and they're like 30 miles out of the city.
Oh my god. So are they like tugging this thing along on like a low dose of the dole or something, or just on the natural like the natural conductivity of the land allows it to hover, but you still need to pull it or something like that?
Yeah, I feel like they probably have like someone who is a diode, but not a particularly good one.
Ooh.
Yeah.
They're just like, which is why they're like under the radar, because the like management and stuff are like, whatever, this guy is not a threat.
But wait, you said that like they go until they're run out and then they just set up camp there and then that's when they get over. So I think like, yeah, so they're probably like, that's I still like all of that. That they probably don't travel too far just by tugging. They're like close enough to potential that they're probably like, hey, come to us or something. Tony, well, let's see like kind of what maybe this can give us context about them. What is going on right now during a required rest? Actually, that feels pretty in there, waiting out the weather, refilling supplies, repairing transport. So like we have stopped for some reason, or we are in the middle of something. We're in the middle of a required rest.
So we're a circus troupe. We've got our own little train, but we're stopped. We are outside this. We're a little outside the city.
Yeah. you're like traveling towards potential was the idea. That's like the route that we were taking, and we have stopped at some point. Does this feel like we haven't hit our destination and we have to stop in the middle of the world?
Yeah. I mean, I think the answer is obvious to everybody. And that is that the required west is because our spotter wasn't paying attention. Anamana got
Ooh.
some of our gold. And so we were limping along, so we've stopped to extract some more gold from a
mine. I love that.
Hell yeah.
Required rest because Anamana's like got to us, and we
ate some of our gold track.
Yeah, I like that.
Also, Obadiah has dysentery. Wagon wheel.
Oh wait, sorry, say that again. Obadiah has what?
Dysentery. This is
An Oregon Trail.
Oh
Oregon
yeah,
Trail
I just missed the word
Very, very
dysentery.
good.
That's very good. Ate some of our gold, and we have to repair and find more. I think that's fun. So we're all hanging out. So while we're hanging out, waiting for repairs, a story is being told about, and then this is me, Spade's traditions to bring together, to celebrate, to break. So I think I like the idea that because we're heading to potential, I think we're a circus troupe. You know what? I actually think this is more a practice run. So it's like we have bards and we have like storytellers. We're a circus troupe, so we do all these different things. And I think people are like whoever our like storyteller or ringleader or what have you is like, oh, like I have an idea of what we can tell the children of potential, and it's going to be about like some tradition that we have. And I like the idea that a circus troupe feels really alt culture in this world. It's very eclectic and strange. So it's kind of a story of tradition that's like, it's like, here's the story of the listener, you know? And it's like kind of like, because they have to go perform at all of these major cities, so they can't be outright like anti-establishment. But I think like this traditional story is almost secretly like telling people the real story, or like the original story in kind of a fun, kind of cheeky circus way, where kids are like laughing about it, and parents and adults are like, oh, this is like unserious, and it's like full of jokes, so they're like, oh, they're making fun of the listener or whatever, or they're making fun of whatever, but actually it's about listening to each other rather than others.
I also love the idea that they're like practicing because they know that the anthem of like the new school jitters might like interrupt the performance. So they're just sort of like, hey, we're outside potential. We gotta, normally we would just like do it live, but we're gonna try and give ourselves some advantage. We've been given this opportunity, right?
I love that. Yeah. Let's go. Let's try a new routine. Like this is also like, we have the story. Let's try some new stuff. They're having fun with it. I love that. So when traveling with a circus troupe, during a moment of during a moment of repair, a story is being told about the story of the listener. I love that. And so how we're going to kind of bring this to a close is I want us all to go around and then just come up with a character that is listening to the story or is around to hear the story that's being told. So we will kind of truly finish this game of A Land Once Magic by like essentially creating a character, or like thinking about like this one last moment of like, well, what would you be excited to explore further in this world that we've made? And you are traveling with the circus troupe, so you can be a part of the troupe. but you can also be somebody who just hitched a ride, or somebody who is hired by them, or somebody who they found on the street. So like, or you can be the person who's telling the story if that's who you're most interested in. But think about all the stuff that we were talking about, all the little loose ends, and like, if you were to play a character in this world, who would they be? And whoever has an idea, feel free to speak up and go first.
I've already got something.
Hell yeah, let's
yeah.
go, Ro.
I think my character is someone who like had to hitch a ride with them. They had like also gotten on a transport that kind of got ran aground by the Anamanas, and so was just like, oh, okay, I guess I have to be on this. I think they are a student of the Department of Learning and Development, and so they were like visiting family, coming back into school. They've been there for a year, so they are very bought into the idea of the management and the hierarchy.
Ooh.
And so this is like a very jarring entry into like this other world, which I don't think they really even think existed. Like, I think that with diodes and stuff, they're like, that's just like stories that people tell to like scare your children. And so getting this firsthand, they're like, whoa, what is what is going on? You're not supposed to do any of this. This is so out of protocol.
You're like really upset that you have to travel with the circus troupe, but
Yeah.
actually by the end of the journey, you'll actually like die for them and stuff like that. Yeah,
They're gonna win me over reluctantly.
Oh, I love that.
I think I would like to make a character that is in the early stages of tinnitus. So their hearing is actually starting to go, and they're heading to potential to see if there's, either the department has something that can like help either slow or reverse the effects, or like meet with the diodes as an act of desperation. But I also think that this person is also like, as the tinnitus has started to impact, they're starting to feel the frequencies more like through their body. And so it's connecting with this evolving dole in a different way. So it's kind of like this person is conflicted about what it all means, is because their particular experience is like shifting as the dole is. And like they are with the circus because like it passed through their town or something, and they figured, this was the opportunity that presented itself, and they kind of like, similar to Rue's character, is like kind of hitching a ride. And I also like the name, like being like solder, like a soldering iron.
Oh, that's fun.
So that's what I would do.
That's great. Tony, do you have a character?
Yeah. I think Quill was raised in the circus. His parents are two of the bards. They when they were younger, they were like like always the romantic leads. Like they were both very, good looking. Now they've just kind of aged, and they are having a hard time kind of letting go of that prime spot, and have had to start actually playing parents. And so there's a little bit of like they oftentimes talk about how they essentially don't want to be parents, and while they are mostly talking about the play, like it's very hard to be their child, and he'll hear that. And so I think Quill is like growing up in circus life, has done a little bit of everything, like is very much just like a hand at this point in time, doesn't actually like really gravitate to any of the performing roles, like really prefers to be behind the scenes. I think the when they stop for the required arrest, Quill's out looking with everybody else. Can I make a big swing, or you'll go if I make a big swing?
Let's get big with it.
I think we see Quill kind of just wandering like further away from everybody else. Like there's scenes of other stuff happening back at the camp, and he's just kind of very obviously wandering further away. and they make their way over the hill, and in front of them they see these two metal like towers sticking up from the ground. And all of a sudden
Ooh.
a old man in a child's clothes falls out of it with long hair, lands on the ground and says, "We've been put on a pip."
What?
And then
Amazing.
passes away while Quill holds them, meaning that Quill heard the last words of Dominic
Mhm.
Toretto.
That's and
Yeah,
it was we were
that's
put on a
incredible.
pip. I
We're put on a
can't.
pip.
Uh,
That's a corporate thing, right?
it's
That's
a
like
it's a
Yeah.
performance
Stanford?
it's a performance improvement plan.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is
It's like a sign.
it should not be, but it is a very obvious sign in most corporate culture that
They
you're
are
going to be
trying to
terminated.
fire you.
Yeah. And so good pips are actually just about helping people get better. Most pips are about firing people.
Gotcha. Oh man, I love that. Okay, so you're like a child of the circus who heard the final last words of Dominic
Toretto.
Yeah.
And the
I love
ominous statement that we have been put on a pip.
Yeah, we.
Mhm.
I love that.
I love that so much.
Wow, that's so funny. I'm kind of tied between two character ideas actually. I think my first one is just I want to be the guy who failed being who failed searching for the onomatas. Like I'm the guy who kind of fucked
Yes.
up. And so I'm just like that's my profession. Like maybe I am a part of the circus. I'm like a juggler, but then I'm also supposed to be on lookout, and I just really fucked that up. I think that's a funny character to be. But I also like. But if I were to pick something from the world that we didn't hone in on, that I would love to see some more of, is like a person whose job it is to retrieve the dole. And it feels like that's maybe something that that the circus would keep, because it's like maybe a universal role. It's kind of like we kind of have conductors, but I feel like that's like for anthems. This is like maybe a similar role to the conductor, where it's like I know how to handle the dole. I am the one that retrieves it from other people and then can plug it into things. And so it's not exactly a diode, like it's kind of a diode, but within the confines of I'm like genuinely like an electrician and stuff like that. Right?
Yeah.
Like I think that character might be more interesting. Just to I mean, it could all be all in the same too. I could be the electrician who fucked up and didn't look out for the thing.
I love it though.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the regular lookout guy was like, just all you have to do is like look and see. It's really easy. I just need to go do something.
And it was not actually that easy.
It was not that easy.
You're like, I can't see anything actually.
They're like, just look for holes in rocks. And I'm like, the whole world is holes in rocks.
What do you mean?
All right. Well, that was our land. That was once magic.
Yes.
Or I guess in our case is evolving magic, is now strange worse magic. Not worse negative, but worse different.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then we have our little characters. And then as Adam says in chat, I need a whole 70-part actual play in this world.
All right. Start writing the system.
Tony, what system would you run this in, or would it need a bespoke system?
I mean, my general, I'm going to bespoke this, but I just want it to be narrative and have some dice resolution, is to make it Together We Go game, because there's all kinds of good stuff you can do. It's super flexible. I mean, I also think this is you could play this in you could take a very light hack of Apocalypse also.
You could do an Apocalypse World.
I think really good.
My heart went to like Patchwork.
Patchwork is my other go-to kind of universal. I think Patchwork would do really well in this. I think I would want to write a bunch of
unique moves,
for it.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Parents eaten by onomatas instead of parents eaten by whales.
Exactly.
A little twist on some of these.
And then create some bespoke ones. But yeah, Patchwork would be my other kind of go-to for this, I think. I could also
love hearing that.
I could also put a put a great Soul Train robbery. If it was
Yes,
just all,
I gotta rob one of them trains.
if it was all
Yeah.
on one of
Mhm.
the trains, and
Yeah,
so
100%. We would do that. Yes.
um,
Uh,
yeah,
I love
and we'll
that.
just go system to system until the next one takes us to potential. Sure.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Uh, I love asking that question specifically to like games people I know. I'm like, hey, what would you actually play this world in? Like, just to be like, what's the systems that come
yeah.
to mind?
Let's do our reaction roll. Reaction roll is a live stream inside of a live stream. It's our chance to talk to the creator, or in this case, creators of the game we just played, and tell them what our thoughts were. Talk to them a little bit about it. And now we are going to do that for A Land Once Magic with Viditya, Voleti. We also have the editor for the game here, Rue. We are going to talk about what it was like to play that game. Before we jump right into that, though, Viditya, you want to give people the elevator pitch one more time for A Land Once Magic?
Yeah, A Land Once Magic is a conversational world building game where you will create a world where magic is in turmoil and build it from the ground up, from all around, and make a world that is post fantasy in nature, which means it feels like fantasy but is wholly original at the end of the day.
Awesome. Love it. And we just played that game. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what our experiences were like to play it. I've said that so many times at this point in time. Just keep on repeating the premise over and over again. I've been up since very early this morning, though. I had a blast playing it. But before I share my thoughts, let's start out with Sarah. Sarah, why don't you tell people who you are, what you do, and what it was like to play A Land Once Magic?
Yeah, hi, I'm Ozarix Franco. I'm a cult leader here at Plus One EXP, and I'm your real life stepdad. You can find me all the places at Ozarix Franco. So do that or don't. I am not your real dad. I'm your real life stepdad, so it's different. I loved this. I thought it was so fun. I love the different stages of the game made it so easy to kind of to collaborate and get on the same wavelength, which I think can be hard with games sometimes. Like people are showing up for different experiences, but you're already from the jump saying, we're blending a palette and the touchstones together so everyone's voice is heard, and then we're collectively going from there. I loved that. The prompts are incredible. Like the one that stood out to me was like, what's the transportation for this world? I'm like, what a cool, like, Sarah, never would have thought of that in 1,000 years, but it defines so much of what's happening, of like how people get around. And a lot of the prompts felt designed that way, where it's like you're being like, you're doing a specific thing that has incredibly broad impact, and it like gives so much room to play. I love open-ended conversation games in general, but the structure of this one was so nice because it's again like the yes anding that's inherent to the way that it is just so satisfying. And I love that, again, you can get this weird modge podge of Severance and like video game soundtracks. Like, what a cool, and gold. Gold is also there. Like, very very cool. And I love that it really does lend itself to the community aspect of the game. Like, this is something built collectively, not individually. And I love that because it enforces that like we play together, which is just like why we play. I love it. I think it's great. I also want to play in this world forever now, please.
Yes.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Do you have any questions you want to ask, Viditya?
Oh gosh, how long did it take you to come up with all of these different prompts?
So
I feel like that would be the hardest thing.
I mean, that's actually a really good question. A Land Once Magic, the journey of it as a designer is fun for me because the initial like two tables, so like a legend and then the world table. I have a game called Space Between Stars, which is a space opera game that has a world building section right up front. It has like a session 0, and you essentially do a very shorter version of A Land Once Magic, but for space opera.
Oh, very cool.
And then you play a GM-less game in it. So that has like a GM-less system that's attached to it. And so I kind of just took a bit of those questions that started as like, here's the sci-fi question. And then I was like,
Yeah.
well, what's the fantasy version of that?
Yeah.
But then like it actually, these questions have taken several years actually, because it's kind of easy to, I think, well, for me at least, I found it fun and easy to throw down questions to be like, this would be interesting and this would be a fun thing to do.
Yeah.
But Orlando's Magic is actually, I think, surprisingly, at least to me, very play tested, and like each of these questions have seen a lot of play. And so every time I play it, I go, this needs to be tweaked, or that this verbiage is just a little awkward, or I don't like how like this thing moves into that. So it's taken a long time to write these questions actually, as like they've shifted and changed, or I notice that there's kind of a gap. I'm like, oh, I kind of like don't have a question about this, and I'm trying to remember if there's one exactly about that. Like put kind of like the the is there a common language and is there a way to communicate long distances? We never answered that question.
Right.
But to me, that was initially like two separate questions. And then I never really had anything about like communication. And I realized that I really liked talking about communication as a world building thing.
Yeah.
Or it showed up in a game. Like some other question led to us having this really interesting conversation about how people send like messages, and I was like, that actually should be a core question. Like I want that to be something that could potentially be talked about every time. So like that's like the journey.
Very
It's
cool.
taken a lot of years and a lot of play testing for a prompt driven game, you know.
Yeah, very cool. I have two more questions, one for you and then another one for Rue on like the editing side. But like TTRPGs are art. You can fight me wherever you want, right? Like you are creating an experience. you are like, I think when it through the process of creating, you're inherently making a statement. What are you hoping people take away from A Land Once Magic? Like what do you feel like you are saying with this game?
So actually, so the real actual underlying theme of A Land Once Magic, I say it's a post fantasy game. I've recently recorded several podcasts for marketing reasons, and so they aren't out yet. But like each and every one of them are like, so what the fuck is post fantasy? And I've had to like talk about that. But actually, this game isn't necessarily about post fantasy or whatever. The art of it, the core thesis of A Land Once Magic. Hello, Linda. It's a game about climate change. Like,
hell yeah.
Basically every world that I make that is made in A Land Once Magic in some way, shape, or form is a allegory for climate change. Like in our world, it's kind of like this. To me, I would say like, oh, we're talking about climate change because we have like a very like resource driven kind of, you know, literally doled out like energy source that we rely on these corporations to give us, and we don't really have control over like the technology and the fuel source and the power of our world, and it's getting fucky, right? Like and so like in a way, like this natural resource is now evolving to disrupt and change, and its evolution is disrupting a lot of things that we've built with, and so like, and then kind of a lot, you know, we also just inherently made things about like people who are attuned to this natural resource are working with, like, we literally came up with recycling as a natural solution. So it's like, I never say it's about climate change. I don't think I have anything explicit about it, but like that is what A Land Once Magic is about.
That's sick. I love that. And I love, like, again, I feel like so often with, and this is why I love indie games, is that they have something to say. Like they're trying to get you to like connect dots to make you feel feels. And I love being able to just be like, and this is what it's about.
Yeah.
Like you can also just have like a cool world with like weird dirt eels that like eat gold. But at the end of it.
But I mean, also it's like, yeah, that's the whole thing is that the weird dirt eels with gold in it, we're just living their life, but then we made trains that fuck up their like biology, and now they start attacking us. That's climate change. You're like, you know, like that's humanity's impact on nature and all that stuff, you know.
Yeah, love it. And then my last question, it's for you, Rue. Like when you were editing this game, like so you've seen the game more closely than most folks, right? Like in a first version, second version, all the different times that you've like touched it. What's something that has been there like from the first time that you saw it that's still here now that like excites you as someone in in the game design space?
Yeah. I'll be honest, I am being pulled in as an editor kind of in the final process
Gotcha.
of
Yeah.
the game, but I have seen other
Mm-hmm.
iterations of this game.
Rue's been a part of the process of making this game,
just
of
like
play
unofficially.
testing and
Yeah.
asking questions.
Yeah, and sorry, what was the last part of your question?
Just what did you like, you as you're seeing these different iterations, what's something that's continued to like be there that like really excites you about this game in particular?
Yeah, I think like you were saying, I really love the prompts and how evocative they are and how they get people kind of really connected to the world that they're building. I think regardless of what types of worlds I've seen with like the different playtesting we've done and just seeing like other people talk about these worlds, like I think it's really good at getting you really hooked into the world that you build, which I feel like is a very different experience for people before they play a game when they have like a GM who is just like, this is something I created, this is the world, and there is excitement in like discovering what the GM is like created for you, but there is a different kind of connection when you play a game that you've created yourself with your friends and you're like, oh, what if we like did this, and that idea that you came up with earlier, kind of like what we were doing in this session, where like you become so connected to it because you've spent all this time, you know, connecting these dots that you hadn't thought of connecting beforehand. Like I definitely at the end of this, I'm like, yeah, I want to play in this world and I want to play in it because I had a hand in creating different parts of it. And I saw the excitement of people, you know, creating different worlds and like creating the anthems or the, you know, the conductors, etc.
Yeah. I love that point of like you're creating a world that you can be invested in, right? Like, and it's so much less intimidating than like picking up a different game where it's like, and here's this like thick book of lore, and maybe the GM has like pulled out these things. Like those games absolutely have their place, and like it's a very different experience. But what I love about this is that like the GM can now also take that and go like steps further, but everybody's like starting on a similar page to be like, this is, we all understand and acknowledge, but because the exercise was together, like that intrinsic sense of community, I think is really special.
Yeah, and that kind of, at least for me, has been more of my experience in playing games, and I think that just is with the group of people. Like me and Vid have done a lot of games. We did a lot of streamed games, and a lot of them, almost every single one, I think we as a group created the world together to begin with. So it's, for me, it's often like weirder to come into a world that someone else has like dictated what's in it and I haven't had a hand in creating that world. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, what if we did this? And I'm like, oh, never mind. You already have an idea.
Yeah. Does Chili's exist in this world, or do I need a different place to meet up with my coworkers for drinks? Right? Like
we've like literally, I mean, Dairy Queen has found its way into basically every so many. And so Rue and I, we have had Dairy Queen in anywhere that we could possibly have it in, except for our like weird middle fantasy kind of epic. We couldn't.
There's time.
The Dairy Queen. The Dairy Queen was literally just the queen of the Southlands that were rich in cows.
I think we must have made a joke about that in there, but otherwise we absolutely are just going to play. Yeah. I will say that's like a big thing about this is like just all the games that I've played with Rue and like all of those kind of smaller campaigns fully are like, I want this to feel like it's helped build out a like, this is a game that's kind of built to emulate that experience that I love so much.
Yeah. I think that's like why we play games, and I think it's really like what's powerful about games like this is it cuts to the heart of it, instead of it, you know, playing for 6 months and then like you build the group lore and you're like, oh, we've got it, like you start there, and I think it just like accelerates that creative energy and like the fun of it all, right? Like that I love the understanding like this is play. I don't know, I get really excited about those kinds of things, so it's super sick. Well done.
Yay.
Awesome. Rue, what was it like for you to play? And if you want to tell people about where to find you, also do that.
Yeah, I'm Rue again. You can find me. I'm gonna just drop my little link because that has the link to everything. My little card. I write,
Drop it
design,
in Discord so
and
I can put it in because you can't.
oh yes, I will do that. I was gonna ask. I was like, I know some folks don't have links super easy to get through.
It's literally easier for me to just drop it in than to go in and add the.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I love the collaboration process. It's also been a little bit of time since I've done a world building game, so it was good to get back into the world building seat again. And I like that world building games kind of, no matter like what you come in with or what you might have an idea for like a character, this process always kind of shakes that up a little bit because everyone is coming up with different ideas and different, you know, locations and world lore, that it always like kind of shakes up whatever you have come in to the game with, which I really like.
Awesome. Did you have any questions you want to ask Viditya or us for that matter?
Oh. I guess for the whole table, have you played other world building games, and how does this compare to that if you have?
I have played other world building games. What I appreciated about this was the structure of it. Like, I think sometimes in other world building games, they have like prompts, but they're almost like too broad. And like it's hard to cut, they don't necessarily like flow well from one to another. Where it's sort of like, okay, this person is really building out this whole entire section, and like of course like people are able to chime in. What I love about this is because you can like layer turn upon turn with like just like a flip of a card. It feels much more like contained and timed. That it helps. Like I would feel really comfortable like bringing somebody who's never world built or done anything this game, because it's so evocative and so like you just have to finish this sentence, versus some others that are like, define the first 100 years of this world. Like that is such a huge ask, right? And this is just very like, no, literally just like finish the sentence. And even like with the given prompts, like you could just go with what is already on there and just have a kick-ass world from the jump without bringing any like new ideas to the table. And so I really like that, and it stands out to me in that way.
I have played a handful of world building games. No, I've played a good amount. I really enjoy them. I think they're a lot of fun. Everything from like very bespoke things like Justicar, right? Like, which is like, you know, it does have an act structure to it, but like is the best part about it is the world building that you get to do. To Quiet Year, which is one of my favorite games. And probably the one that I oftentimes mentally like hold other world building games up next to is Quiet Year. Just because I enjoy it. It does really distinctive things. The way that it intentionally fosters a very specific type of conversation and play, kind of some of the different structures in it, I think are all really interesting from a design standpoint, and I find satisfying. But that said, I still have critiques about it. Like we just put out a game called The Conservatory that I think takes that model that of the Quiet Year and does some really cool things by bookending it into telling the history of an arcane institution. But one of the things about this, and it's what I was going to talk about and kind of ask a question about, so I'll just judo this around a little bit. I think one of my favorite things about it, especially that has not been hit yet, is the palette and the touchstone. And my question in a second is going to be, did both of those things come about immediately? Were they later adds? And did one precede the other? Are going to kind of be, I want to hear a little bit about that from you in a second, Vid. But what they are doing is providing guidance. Like there is a moment at which I was like, God damn it. Like Adam in the chat is like, bring Dominic Doretto back as the whatever. And and I immediately was like, do I want to even bring that to Sarah's attention? And I did apparently want to. 'Cause
Listen, I do two things in every game. We make it about music and we make it about Dominic Toretto. That's it.
But also, like in this game, it'd be easy. Like, and you set it up early, and I would have felt totally comfortable in a different setting, being like, "Oh, actually, like that's really not in our touchstones. Can we like not do that, right?"
Mhm.
No, we didn't need to, and I think we still like because there's all the touchstones you name, and then there's all the touchstones that evolve. It's one of the reasons I love Sarah's design suggestion in chat so much for the jokers. Like the ability to name and formalize like an emerging touchstone could be a really cool idea for what the jokers do. But yeah, I like Quiet Year in the fall. People get bored and they just go gonzo. Pretty consistent, right? Like,
Mhm.
part of that may be the fact that I played a lot with teenagers because I was a youth worker for a long time. But even when I play with adults, a lot of adults really struggle to just maintain the cohesion of narrative the whole way through. And so in fall, you will see a significant shift based on where people are at and their mentality around. Um, that like here, I never felt that separation. And I do think the palette and the touchstones are doing a lot of that work. Also, you're immediately able to start diving in because you're getting on the same page very practically. What is this game about? And very few world building games do a good job of that, especially ones that are very open ended. You can kind of do.
Here, Tony, your mic's
You're
getting
bringing it
wonkadoo.
in.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on.
You're doing good for a second. Now you're back in.
Am I good?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
It
I
is
Anyways,
will
like-
just take it. We'll take it as it comes, but I will notify you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, lots of world building games don't provide that type of guidance, and it makes it either hard to get into or allows them to get off track later.
Mhm.
I will. I wasn't going to bring this up, but I am going to now. When we were talking about the touchstones, the thing that immediately came to mind was Chippendale Rescue Rangers, but specifically like Gadget, the girl mouse that like makes small contraptions. Like I wanted,
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
and then I was like, that's too out there. We gotta put that. And now I'm like, now at the end, I'm like, that would have been totally fine. Like that would have
been
fit
a lot
in
of fun,
Yeah.
so well, and it would have been totally fine. And like that, I think speaks to the nature of the mechanic of like get weird. Like do
Yeah.
Get
Mhm.
weird.
Yeah.
Because we know where the lines are, but we also know what the encouragement is. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna flip it back around. Viditya, can you talk to us about how those two things kind of came together?
Yeah, so palette in general is just a mechanic that I really like. I think it comes from my love of, I'm sorry, did you say Street Magic? I'm a big fan of Street Magic. That's my the Quiet Year, the world building game that I kind of put every other world building game up to. And I really like palette in that. And I know palette comes from Microscope, but palette and Microscope's a lot different. Palette and Microscope's kind of a yes/no list, I'm pretty sure, or something like that. Like it's a little different. But then Caro, now we're doing like games etymology. It's Cara's palette is similarly words. It's vibes. But then Caro got it from Yarn Spinner, who's a friend of the show, Etta Mendez, is a friend of the show. I just said that off the dome. I'm like cooked. I'm fucked up. I'm just talking about a friend of ours, Caro and I's. Jesus.
Friend of the show. The show is your friendship.
The show is my friendship. So and Yarn Spinner is also where like because when I made palette, I like wrote out that list of stuff and I go, hey Caro, can I just steal your palette and maybe change it? And Caro just goes, yeah, sure. I just stole my palette from Yarn Spinner. And I'm like, yeah, great. So we're just kind of like hopping this thing around. But I love the idea of just like evocative words. I think they're really fun. And then my spin on it was this like, and it just came out of playtesting of me trying out the like we each write two and then we just see, and like that to include as many moments of spontaneous like discovery together was kind of my addition. My addition to the lineage of palette is kind of the 3, 2, 1, see what we got, go around and like pull together, instead of like a 1, 2, 3, everybody like kind of in a row picks up palette words. And so I just love them. I think they're one of my favorite calibration tools ever. And then so you asked the question as you were talking, I went to the original doc and I was like, what fucking came first? Oh my God, I don't actually remember. So I'm looking around and palette came first and then touchstones came later. And I have dates to prove this. Touchstones came like a month later in the document at the very least. So I can't remember exactly when it was, but I think I think there was a moment where I did it in a playtest where, and it probably goes back to kind of like an answer I gave Sarah about like the prompts, where I think it must have happened, and this is like 2020 is how far back I had to go for this. It must have happened that like during some game we kept going, oh, like from this piece of media that we all really like, or like I'm pulling this as a reference, or I'm like looking at that. And I think just from play being like, you know, like we're already kind of talking about it and like being excited about what we like and what we're pulling from, I was like, let's just do that. You know, like let's just put that right at the top of what are we excited about right now? Like what is the thing that's coming to our brain? What do we want to pull from? And then I think that like not traditionally fantasy just pushes it even further, where it's like so many of these questions, I think without that, our worlds would feel a little samier to traditional fantasy. I don't necessarily know I have proof of that, but it's like a big feeling in my heart that like, because we said Severance, and I mean like it proves it in this thing, but because we said Severance, we're not answering these questions like with traditional fantasy in mind. We are thinking about it outside of it, and I think that just enough of that was really fun, and so it's a bit of like I wanted to push that, and just through playtesting I was like, no, that seems really fun, I want to codify it.
It's interesting because it was one of my, I mean, obviously it's the beginning of a game, but I'm like, oh man, is this going to feel hat on hat or not? Right. And immediately, as we start naming them and doing the process, it doesn't. And then you get into it and you're like, okay, I'm pulling from here at this point. And like, there's a level at which you can pull from them in the same way, but they don't feel like the same thing in play. They very immediately start to sells from each other in a way. This is really, it's really easy, simple, but really elegant, which I think those two things are usually overlapping. Like, and so because it's easy to make something complex, it's hard to make something like simple, direct, and clear. And I think you've done a really good job with that. And so, yeah, I had an absolute blast. Before we kick off for the night, Viditya, what was it like to play A Land Once Magic? You got any questions for anybody?
I love playing it. This is also a game that I made because I like to play it. Like that's the reason why it's gone through so many playtests, and why like I made this game originally. It was published like again, this document goes all the way back to October of 2019, and I've been playing it for 5 years, for like almost 6 years ish, 5-ish years, because I just like the conversational aspect of world building. So like this was a blast. I love the world that we made. I'll even say like, you know, little peek back behind the curtain stuff, or like metrics that I keep in my brain, specifically with palette. I love knowing people's palette words, because I go, what palette words keep showing up a bunch? And melodious shows up a good amount. It's also why I always try and swap out palette words that I don't see too often. If I'm playing, I'm like, let's see what happens if I do this. Let's see what happens if I do that. Melodious shows up a solid amount, but the worlds still feel so deeply unique, even though like music kind of becomes a big part of it. And I love that we did like frequency as a sort of music. It's so cool. I love that. That was great. Do I have any questions for y'all? I truly, I don't know. I mean, you know, said some really lovely things, and some really wonderfully encouraging stuff that already answered certain questions that I would have had. I don't know. There's some tweaking and there's some stuff. I mean, like if I really wanted to get into it, it's like, were there any questions that felt either redundant or clunky? Because I'm always curious about that.
The thing I took in actually was that you do I mean, There's some of the stuff that you noticed, like, you know, we had an evolve, and lots of the questions, like, kind of like don't frame in a way that, but like also you know, it's whatever. One of the things I picked up on, you're doing a really good job, regardless of the option that pops up in the sequenced one, of providing real good consistency.
Wait, what was the last bit? You cut out
Sorry.
for a hot.
In the questions that are sequenced, or the parts of the prompts that are sequenced,
Yeah.
you're doing a really good job section by section of creating strong consistency, so that no matter what gets picked, your information design. It's one of the reasons why I was like, do we want to give a name to the thing, right? Like, like, do we want to call management, right? Is because I was looking at the way you had written the prompts, and I'm like, oh, these are a whole lot of cool fucking sounding names in here. Are we not going to do that, right? So there's a hidden level of information design, and that's a thing I noticed as a designer that I just want to compliment.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I for some reason I thought this was gonna go, and I didn't like that.
No, it's good.
Oh, okay, Tony. I know, like that's good, but okay, cool.
And also, boo.
And also, boo. Yeah, I also find that like I give little suggestions for things, and sometimes groups will just be like, I don't want to do any of that, and I love that it like gets things rolling, but it gets you to create a name even though it's not one of the suggested names. I think it's also because a lot of my suggested names are like really out there, which I had fun coming up with, but I would also understand if not everyone wants to latch on to that.
Is there anything you noticed?
Again, like nothing stood out to me as like like sharp edge or anything like that. Like I think Tony's observation of some of them being more driven towards like, no, like magic is gone. It's out of here. But like that's such a minor thing for me because it still worked so well, like with the understanding of like, oh yeah, we just got a different thing. Like we can phrase this differently. And so I thought it was great. Like no notes on the prompts themselves. Like I'm really impressed like at how well they fit together and build off of each other in a way that they don't feel redundant. Like in the land we got, it was the important natural landmark, and then like what anomalies in the world are used as landmarks. Like those, you could in theory say that like those are asking the same questions, but they're very much not. Like and I like that they have a strong distinction about them where we're saying like, no, what's fucking weird, and then what is normal about the landscape itself. And I like, again, like it was really cool because those things could stack on each other in a cool way, or they can be two totally separate things. Like regardless, they flow together really well.
Wonderful. I love it. And and I like the way you got both of them. There's like we got the entire land section, and that doesn't always happen, which is fun.
And Rue's going to give you all their critical feedback in a document as part of a work for us.
Yeah. I want Rue to be like, this sounds weird. This is awkward.
That whole land section is gotta go.
And I gotta just tell Rue, it can't go. I'm sorry. We're going to print.
Real quick before I melt into a puddle, tell us about that. You guys are going to crowdfunding soon.
We're going to crowdfunding in 2 days.
In 2 days.
The 13th on Thursday. A Land Wants Magic is going live on BackerKit. Yeah, and we're funding for I think a 2-week period. It's about maybe a little bit more than that. For Pocketopia is also like kind of we're part of a greater thing. So we have we're doing that. It'll be a small A6 book, pocket-sized book.
I love an A6.
Cargo pants. And you get and there's also a bag bundle, so if you want, like, you can spend a little bit more to get a bag that you put the book in, and also a little notebook that you can, you know, kind of what we were doing here with all like the Miro board stuff. You can kind of use a notebook to jot all your ideas down.
I heard those bags are going to be hand stamped.
They are going to be hand stamped. That's a thing that I have promised. And every day I think about, whenever I talk about the hand stamping, it's truly like a Jedi Force ghost of Will Yobst is like shaking their head at me as I've created like not. I don't even think it's that much work, but I'm a fucking idiot. Is what I am. Making
It's
this stamp.
unlimited, folks. Get those orders in.
Yeah. I saw Will Yipes this weekend at Game Face Con, and they walked up to me first thing and they said, "Did you see that he is hand stamping all the?" Their immediate conversation.
I can't even imagine. Listen, it's a single stamp. My thought was, I make the stamp once.
You hand carve the
And
stamp
then-
one time.
and then it's a stamp, and then I'm just stamping.
These words are gonna haunt you in the 11th hour
I
when
have
you're
to
like,
tell
I
myself
can't
Godspeed.
stamp
I
anymore.
have to tell
Uh,
myself this.
May the spirit of Dominic Doretto guide your stamp.
May they be
Yeah.
fast and furious.
May they be
Um,
fast and furious.
we if you want to find out more about the game, you can go to ttrpg.link/ALOMGame to check it out, to follow the backer kit, get some more information about it, and in 2 days or whenever you watch this, because maybe it's the day after that, right? It's fine. Go ahead, head on over there and go ahead and back the project. Get your own hand stamped bag or just a copy of the book. It's fine. Supporting it at any level or sharing the campaign if you can't fiscally afford to support things because the world is turning into a horrible hellscape out there just a little bit more and more every day. Finding other people who can is always great. We'll hopefully be back for more streams. We do know that Sarah and I are going to work on a Defy the Gods stream with Chris Sellers that we're super excited about. We're actually going to try to make that one a 2-shot so we can give it a little bit of good breathing room. If you haven't gone to follow that project yet, go search for Hectic Electron over on Blue Sky because I don't have a link readily available. I should fix that. We're going to be playing that. We're going to be starting to stream a little bit more, both our own titles and some other people. We had a really rough last year, but a lot of people, when we went to Gamma a couple weeks ago, were like, we need y'all to stream more because we miss it. And we want you to play our games. And so we're going to try to figure out a better way to make that happen that's more sustainable for everybody. So keep your eyes peeled here. Head on over to that link. And if you want to support everything we do, you can go to plus1exp.com. Specifically, you can check out RPGZine.Club, where we put out 2 new games every month, 1 adventure and 1 story game. You already heard us talk about it. Exquisite Biome is finally getting a physical print. If you like world building games, check it out. Those, I believe, are now up on the site. If they aren't, they will be by tomorrow morning as a standalone purchase. Or if you sign up for Zine Club anytime this month, you'll get it at the best price possible. Alongside that, we have Richard Ruane's Cliff Cove Mysteries that is coming out this month. Also, it was a Kickstarter that was done as a microzine, but we recompiled them all into a full A5 book. We're also testing things out with Print Ninja. So we got a new printing source that we tried out their new domestic process and a few other things. What else? City Beards is still slow funding over on our website. Also, you can check that out while you're over there. And I think City Beards gives you, it's on discount right now. I think there's a discount code floating around. Message me later. I'll give you the discount code. If you message me, I'll give you a discount code, even if there's not one, probably. With all that said, we don't have a good way to end these streams at this point. We're not interested in figuring one out. We're just going to wave at the camera until I take
We
us
hope
off
you
air.
enjoy your pizza.
Bye, everybody.
Whoa.